Okay, welcome protest followers to the I Stand With Russia protest here at the Russian consulate with Aussie Cossack. We're here 20 minutes ahead of time and we're here to just check out what's going on. It's going to get a bit of attention, so buckle up. The Australian Federal Police and a significant state police turnout as well. Hold on. Oh no, he's already being... Ashworth is on duty today and he's already been... The organiser, Simeon, is already being led away or asked to have a chat. Okay, looks like a polite chat. Hands on hips, though, a bit of triangles. So the protest's over there at the Russian consulate, which is a bit on higher load of sods. Both the feds and state is here, and Aussie Cossack Simeon's been led away to... No, it looks cheerful. It looks cheerful. We're going to be fine. Protest is going to go ahead fine. But no, Aussie Cossack Simeon's already just been led away. And he's been asked, can we come have a chat? It looks like they're having a friendly chat because most state police forces want to see these protests go ahead without a hitch. And Simeon is a Royal Russian on the side of his car. He's got the Z markings that we know quite well from footage that's been happening there in Ukraine. Well, one side of this is going to call it a police action, another side will call it an invasion and genocide, some will call it a denazification, others will call it a special security operation. Whatever it is, it looks like we're going to have a protest. It's going to be fine. He's going to be led back across the street to continue his event. That's fine. Alright. Everything's fine. Everything's fine. Alright guys, so that's fine. We're going to dive into it and see if we can get a little bit closer to it. Now where we are here, so this isn't the only consulate, this is the consulate part of town. So just around the corner we have the Polish embassy, further down we have the Serbian embassy. We've got all kinds of embassies around here. And you can know you're close by diplomatic or consular vehicles accepted. She's a tall building, the consulate. Most of the other ones tend to be smaller luxury houses of sorts. So let's get a little bit... Someone's giving us a cheers. There we go. It's his show. If he wants to chat, he's up for it. Plenty of kit and gear here. Actually, we're not interested in Simeon, we're interested in who's around it. How you going? Serbian flag flying here? Tell us, why have you come?
Well, my father and I have come because we believe that Vladimir Putin is transparency for the world. There's no more fogginess anymore. We're seeing very clear what's happening to the world and he is saving the world.
Tell us, what is he saving the world from?
From the propaganda that America is putting on everybody, on everyone's life, and causing chaos, psychotic chaos, and it's going to stop. It will stop.
What's the American propaganda that is sending us crazy? Because I tell you, a lot of people are feeling crazy, but what's the propaganda that you think...
It's false news. They're feeding false news to the people, and it's not the people's fault. They're just believing it. But he's made a stand. He has stood up to the bullies, and this is abuse, what America is doing. It's abuse and it's going to stop because the Orthodox brothers have got this under control. Thank you very much.
No worries. Can I ask? Same? No. No problem. No problem. I don't know if I can ask this lady. Excuse me, can I ask? Hello. Can you tell us why you come today? Not at all. You can just say that you're here to stand with... The name of the protest is I Stand With Russia, so...
Yeah, I'll stand with you.
There you go. There you go. No, you don't have to say anything you don't want.
No, I will. I actually stand with Russia. I stand with Putin in this circumstance. I may not agree with everything Putin's done over the generations. However, in this particular instance, I do agree with everything that he's doing for the cause. And as Monica has stated, Putin is transparency 100%. And we need to look at this and understand that the New World Order is trying to take us over. This is no conspiracy.
What's the New World Order? It's a term that everyone, New Order, what does it mean?
Well, I think at one point, let's look at you own nothing and be happy. We're not interested in Klaus Schwab or his message. We're not interested in any of these lunatics doing what they're doing and trying to take over this world.
Now, Klaus Schwab is from the World Economic Forum,
Yes.
and he's been supporting a platform of globalisation, a single world economy, a single world identity, and a great reset, which has some people very happy about a reset, a change, and some people very nervous and anxious about it. And this is something that you're
Extremely
against.
I'm extremely against this. Personally, for me, democracy is a key factor for anything in this world. I don't want my body, my thoughts, my movements controlled. And I believe that this is what their agenda is, obviously. And their agenda is, by 2030, you'll own nothing and be bloody happy. Well, you know what, twits? I will own everything and I will be happy. And we stand here in unison globally. There are 3% of us around the world. That is enough for the world to stand up and for these globalists to say, we have a problem. And you know what, globalists? We actually do have a problem. And the problem is you. And our intention is to eradicate you and eradicate everything about you.
That's some clear points here. Did the gentleman behind was trying to interrupt? Did you want to say something, sir? No worries. That's clear about what you're trying to say there. But you're living in Australia. You're not living in Russia. You're living in Australia. You're not living in Ukraine or Serbia or any of these. How do these issues? How do you feel they directly affect you living in Australia?
Look, we can sort of see with the. Sorry.
Would you like an umbrella?
Yes. It's okay, we've got an umbrella. Thank you. We can clearly see with our federal government, ScoMo, who sold us out very nicely to these globalists, and everything that they've introduced into federal parliament, where every part of our freedom and every part of our being is being simultaneously destroyed. This is more. Go.
So this is about shift. A lot of what we've been talking about for the past couple of moments has not been about Ukraine, has not been about Russia, has not been about war or sanctions. Everything of what you feel this is about. Oh, come a little bit this way, if I can ask you to. They're setting up another gazebo there to keep the rain off, and it is going to storm at some point.
I agree.
But you're feeling this is a conflict of liberty, of identity, of beliefs, values, systems of living, almost as if it was a kind of communist, capitalist level of conflict. I'm not suggesting...
No, this is pure fascism at play. This is 100% fascism. And if we look at what's happening to Australia and with every bill that's been passed by the federal government, from 2016, and FYI with our constitution being ripped away from us without us even realising that our constitution has been ripped away. And this is our 1901 constitution, for God's sake. And simultaneously, each premier, each prime minister that's been, delegated the task of keeping this country safe has simultaneously destroyed this country and have taken away freedom of movement, freedom of speech, freedom of civil liberty, freedom, our literal freedoms in general have been gone. And I think Australians need to wake up and understand that this is the case. We no longer live in a freedom of society. We no longer live in a society that literally can say to somebody, well, yeah, we are democracy, because we are not a democracy. We are no longer a democracy. We are bordering fascism, communism, more fascism. And I say to Australia, good luck to Australia, but wake up. Please wake up. Please understand that this country is going to hell, and we don't want this, and the majority of us don't want this. And I think the federal government knows that each one of us, that went out to Canberra or have gone to, state parliaments, there are many, many hundreds of thousands of us, and for each one of us, there are 10 at home. And so you are not alone. We are not alone. We know we're not alone. There are people out there that unfortunately...
Can I just reframe this to the issues that you're raising as you bring up vaccines, mandates, systems of government. Again, none of this seems to be about the current conflict. And what I'm reading from it is that it's not about the current conflict to you. That this conflict is a byproduct of a larger cultural, ideological, religious, whatever value system of globalism versus something else. Of globalism, and this conflict is a symptom of that.
100%. I think this all started with the agenda of COVID.
Excuse me, I'm sorry. There's a conflict. Sorry, I gotta go.
Well, see, the thing is, you can't surround the Australian people,
your hands are shaking here again.
Oh, okay, yeah, it's like the same with the last guy.
Just a question.
I'm with all
Why are
your
your
people,
hands
brother.
shaking?
I love this. Look, brother, what about the Golden Dawn? Why'd you go to the Golden Dawn meetings, brother?
Greek community Orthodox event.
Okay, neo-Nazi
fundraiser
organisation.
for charity.
A neo-Nazi
wanna talk to
organisation.
the Golden
This
Dawn,
is
talk
the
to
thing,
them.
Golden Dawn, brother. Neo-Nazi organisation, everyone. This guy's a fake. He's a traitor to the Australian people. You're a fucking fraud, brother. What about the $500 a head tickets that you're charging for the Freedom Ball, brother?
Why are you here?
Show your bank transactions.
Why are you
What are you
here?
doing with the money?
Why are you here?
What are you doing with the money, bro?
Why are you here, mate?
So this guy's an ultra-crepidarian, the absolute epitomisation of a pseudo-intellectual. See, synonymous with Dunning-Kruger effect. This guy thinks he knows. See, you're a closet authoritarian. And no, that's fine, bro. That's fine. Just be honest about it.
What do you think?
Be honest about it. Yeah, Mr.
What do you
Peacock,
think?
please respond. You're usually the confident guy on the camera.
Have your hands stopped shaking?
I'm scared, bro. I'm shaking.
It looks like you're scared.
I'm so scared.
Well, if you want to speak to Golden Dawn, speak to them. I'm not a member of Golden Dawn.
But you're going to their meetings. Where'd you
we
get your
fight
Southern
fascism.
Cross flag?
Russians
Where'd you
fight
get Where'd you
fascism.
get your Southern Cross flag?
Got plenty of them.
Where'd you get your main
You
one?
mean your Eureka flag?
Yeah, where'd you get it?
Like, you here to
Jim
cause
Salee,
trouble or what?
Australia First, brother. You've been Australia First party. This guy's hanging around with neo-Nazis, pretending to be...
How much money you get paid, mate? How much money you get paid from the government? How much money you get paid? How much money you get
What's going on,
paid?
Chris?
Yeah, how much money you get
What
paid?
have you come to say today? Why
How
are you
I
much
just come
money
to
you get paid? How much money you get paid? You guys grow up. You are grow up. You are grow up.
Why?
You are grow up. You're liars. You're liars. All you.
That's
You are
all I know,
liars.
boys.
You are liars.
Ozzy Cossack surrendered. He's
You are
surrendered.
fake media.
That's
Go
all I
away.
got.
Fake media.
All right,
You are the
traders, fake
virus.
there, Chris. I know
You are the virus. Go away, you bastard.
You have a lovely
You
day.
liars.
I guess I'm a traitor too.
You're liars! Fake media! Liars! Liars! Bastards! Go away! Bastards! Virus! You are the virus! You are fake media, the virus! Go away, you evil people! You evil people! You are finished, you are
Go get a Happy Meal. You'll be happy.
Don't bother with them, man. They're getting paid to do this. Look what he's wearing, his suit. Don't bother. These guys are getting paid to cause trouble. Leave them be. He's getting paid to cause trouble, this guy. He's getting paid to cause trouble. Don't listen to the guy. He's an idiot.
Tell us
The walk of shame. That's it.
Nice work, Antifa.
No, he's leaving. He's left. I can't chase. No, I'm not going to chase that. I'd love to hear what he has to say, but I can't chase him down while he's running away. Will you just have a conversation? That wasn't really a conversation. Well, that's... That wasn't really a conversation. But anyway. Hello. I know who...
Platform? What is it called?
Discoveries. Discoveries.
Coveries. Okay.
Stream all kinds of protests. You've probably seen my stream before.
Thank you very much for interviewing me and my cousin.
No, it was good. It was good. I'm going to grab Mr. Stern, who I've seen before.
Yeah, look, I'm not.
A few other people here. But,
Thank you very much.
no, that was something, wasn't it?
This is more than what the mainstream media
Yeah,
is.
something
Everybody has
different.
been quiet ever since we all know.
What do you reckon, guys?
I think it's, yeah, I don't know.
How you going? I'm live. Do you want to chat live?
Have some respect.
Say again? Well, hey, please don't grab that. I don't even know who the disabled kid. I don't know who man is.
Well, you know now.
Okay, do you want to have a chat while we're here?
You know now. That's what I'm asking you to do.
Mate,
You want to be here, but control the behaviour.
I don't even know what you mean, but I'm happy to hear what you have to say. And
Did you hear what I said?
I'm here to platform your
Did you
views.
hear what I
This is the
said?
time.
Did you hear what I said? I don't need
Tell
your
us why
platform,
you're
mate. We've got
here.
enough people watching without you. Trust me.
Okay.
4 people alive. It doesn't make a difference.
Okay.
Okay.
Strong man, Simeon, telling us what to do. Ah, the tight toes. So Simeon comes up to me and is like, stop recording the disabled kid. Not sure who it is, but it seems we've got a communist flag. G'day, mate. Can we shout about your flag?
Well, I mean, what did Simeon say to you? He doesn't want you recording, right?
Simeon's an interesting fellow. Simeon's got a few different views. Jim's here. How you going, Jim?
I know you're Chris de Groot.
Yes, you know me well.
I know who you are, yeah.
How are you, mate?
Bringing out the super fisheye today. It's in the car. It's
okay.
Yeah, it's in my post.
Can I come in 1 second because we can chat anytime? But a gentleman here already knows who I am and
I do,
might have
yeah.
something to say, or not.
Yeah, I mean, you asked about the flag. I mean, this is the flag of the anti-fascist struggle in the Second World War, and the people that Russia and the militias of Donetsk and Lugansk are fighting are fascists. They're neo-Nazis. They are people who want to rewrite history to present the Ukrainians who collaborated with Nazi Germany as nationalists. They want to present the Soviets as invaders. And they want to turn the country. They want to flip the country against Russia. Now, my position in all of this is that here in the West, we should be focusing on what we do. We should be focusing on the fact that we are part of a geopolitical alliance that has pushed for the expansion of NATO. And that's what made this war inevitable. You know, so it's really about that. It's about like recognizing that the real enemy is at home. We don't need war against Russia. In fact, Australia is in many ways like Russia because we are a resource-rich country, plenty of land. We don't need to pick fights with any nation.
Lovely. Can I come with some questions, if I may?
Sure.
A lot of people don't like the flag. A lot of people see the flag as bad as a swastika. It's a flag of millions of dead. And they, if I can, and they see this flag and they're afraid of it. A lot of people who live in Russia who certainly don't like it as well because they had families who, let's say, that flag didn't bring them great things. As he said, whoever wants it back has no heart.
Yeah, he did say that.
He did. But so they're afraid of this flag. You're holding a flag to them that's as bad as a swastika. What does that mean to you?
I don't agree that it's as bad as a swastika.
To them it
but
is.
First of all, I actually did ask Simeon permission. I said, can I bring a Soviet flag? And he said yes. That's why I brought it. As for your characterization, I totally disagree. There's a major difference between an ideology which says that the white countries of the world, the master race, the Aryans, right, which is what the Nazis promoted their ideology as being, that these people should collectively join together and subjugate the rest of the planet. And an ideology like that of the Soviet Union, which calls for international brotherhood, which calls for racial solidarity, which calls for an end to colonialism of the kind that ruled India, which I'm sure you don't care about as much. The colonialism...
Is that racist to say?
What?
What you just said then?
Well, I'm
You
familiar.
spoke to me.
I'm familiar with your ideology, right?
With my ideology?
Yeah.
As in not...
Anti-communist, but look, it doesn't even have to be. It doesn't even have to go that far. We live under the ideological hegemony of a country that was formed out of the British Empire, right? And so people don't know about the crimes of the British Empire in India. Now, part of the reason why. Now, I mean, this sounds like whataboutery. I get that, right? But I think we have
We're
to.
just a long way from the question, but give me one other thing because
The point that I was trying to make is that the Soviet Union played a major role in liberating countless countries from colonial slavery. They supported national liberation movements. They gave them weapons so that they could liberate themselves. That's a large part of the reason why Africa and Asia are no longer under European colonial rule. And that's the reason why the West will never forgive the Soviet Union and they'll never forgive Russia. It has nothing to do with the internal politics of communism versus capitalism.
How does this flag have anything to do with the conflict happening today?
Do you know that every single communist party in Ukraine is banned? Why? Because these communist parties are considered to be pro-Russian. So they hate the Communist Party for two reasons. One, because they represent anti-fascism and pride in the Soviet Union defeating the Nazis in the Second World War. And also because Communist parties tend to want peaceful relations with Russia, which this current Kiev junta is against. Please.
Thank you. Can I ask one question? How long do I need to platform a communist until I'm no longer an anti-communist?
I don't know. I mean, if
Chris, good to
I
speak
hope
with you.
I hope I've given you some good content.
Yeah, maybe. It was good to get your views. I'm glad that I did get them. And I'm glad that the people watching here got to hear them as well. And I'm glad about that.
All right, sure.
Thanks for the chat.
See you, mate.
See you, mate. Oh, I'm sure we'll see each other again. See you, mate. That was a good chat. Always nice to see someone with a Soviet flag. We don't see that too much. Film camera. Do I see that? You want to have a chat? You okay to have a chat? No, no problem. No problem. That's a handmade Russian flag. Normally people go and just buy one. By the way, guys, I'm going to get a picture from here in that long. The tone is changing pretty quick.
Didn't go live, did it?
It's still live right now. You're on it right now.
I did it. How do
Chris
I do
Discoveries.
it? I did it.
Facebook.
Wait.
Let's open up Facebook.
My cousin wants to know.
Bye. Give it a like.
Yes, I will. 100%.
Congratulations, sir. It's the tallest flag here.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Number one. English? No, English. No, it's okay.
Little bit English.
Little bit English. Little bit English. Or I say a little bit English. Russia, thumbs up, thumbs down. Ruski, yeah, yeah. It's okay. All right, all good. Thank you.
We're allies with Russia. Let's not forget, Russians and Australians were always allies. World War I, World War II.
Syrian thinks I don't like him. Whatever, I'm just trying to cover the event. That's my first priority. I don't much like skewing events one way or the other. If someone comes up to me and starts telling, hey, be respectful and whatever, then I'm going to air that. It's not my job to try and skew an event one or the other. I'm not a fan of skewing it a certain way. But we all have our biases. Alright, let's have a landscape check. So we're just here, we're on just on the front street here. Someone's brought a beautiful large thing of Putin there. We've got a barbecue with some firelighters being started up. Looks like someone's going to serve some lunch, which sounds amazing. What a remarkable protest. Not too many protests have lunches served. Looks like a Greek flag over there. We already spoke to the gentleman with the Soviet Union flag. Soviet Union has problems, but everyone's got those problems, right? Give us just 1 second, guys. Give us just 1 second. Hi. I've never taken a phone call during a protest before. There you go. Sorry about that. Oh, we got a sign. We got a sign. We got a sign. I get to do, mate. Tell us about your sign.
Okay, so here we have no war with Russia and NATO to be dismantled.
Okay.
Because I mean, this is really a U.S. NATO driven war, and this started the genesis. It was in 2014 and even before then, when the Ukrainian government went.
It's okay.
there.
I can see you're nervous. The conversations we have are imperfect. This is not a perfect conversation. You're not a politician. I'm not a politician. We don't have a script in front of us. It's okay. You can just tell us about the sign and take a moment, but these are imperfect conversations. It's not perfect. Nothing's perfect.
That's right.
No war with Russia. I think that's a broader one that a lot of people agree with. What does that mean?
Yes, I mean, we shouldn't be, continuing this warmongering, and lies against Russia. So I think we should end it. And hopefully, things get sorted out in the in the near future.
Dismantle NATO, though. I mean,
that's right. Dismantle NATO. Like a lot of wars have been driven, and interventions have been driven by NATO. Look at Libya, where a country that was
what ended up happening?
Africa.
What ended up happening to Gaddafi?
Yeah, it was murdered. Sodomized and murdered. And look at the country now. Run by terrorists and a real now failure where we have thousands upon thousands of refugees and black people being sold in the market as slaves, a new slave trade. So this is NATO. This is NATO, and they've been helping out the US in Middle East adventures as well, and in the destruction of former Yugoslavia. So I think, down with NATO, dismantling of NATO.
Thanks for your views. Thanks so much.
Okay,
bye.
Bye.
Down with NATO. Dismantle NATO. No war with Russia. Let's check out how the barbecue's going. Oh, okay, hold on. Snack time. Here we go. Okay. 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 That's pretty good.
Don't eat anything. Just wait for sausage.
Okay. Wow. That's a lot better. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Okay. What's for lunch? What's for lunch? Very nice. I'll check in later.
Okay, no worries.
Thank you. There you go. So there's some more of the landscape. Simeon's crossed the road to have a bit more of a chat on camera. Might actually pilfer some of his content. Oh, hold on a minute. What's going on down here? There's something going on down there. Let's go and have a look at. Is this a counter protest or something else happening? I'm going to go and have a peek. Is this a counter protest? What's going on here?
We come here to support our Russian community here in Australia.
Oh,
Yeah.
And we got here a placard, Mr. Prime Minister. Okay,
Alright.
okay. We have a situation here. No worries, cheers, bro. Thanks, mate.
Walk on. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Don't let me interrupt you. But what I do want to ask you, what I do want to ask you is, a lot of people say that Russia's been starting a war lately and causing conflicts. I mean, we're cutting off their Visa cards and MasterCards. How can you support a nation that all that's happening to?
What about America with all their conquest in Iraq and Libya and Afghanistan?
Yeah, but there have been wars happening forever.
Uranium use.
What about Yugoslavia in 1999? What about Bosnia-Herzegovina? What about Operation Storm in Croatia, where 250,000 Serbs were expelled? And that was because of NATO's no-fly zone.
Come and chat with me. Get into the group. There you go. Keep asking some interesting questions. Hashtag I stand with Russia, I guess. Oh, hold on. We're going to go and talk some gear. How you going? You know what I'm here for. Oh, you don't know who I am. He's got the Oh, my name's Chris. I live stream protests, but I also talk camera gear while I'm here. And you've got the EOS R with an adapted 7200 Mark. Doesn't want to talk camera. No worries. Alrighty. Normally I talk camera gear, but there's a gentleman here who just wants to. I got a nice chat, but not up for me. So half of the state guys are standing on the other side, but they're just trying to keep a line of traffic open. You've got 3 protective. Hold on. Shouting. No, it's fun shouting. Or maybe it's not fun shouting. Hold on.
Our police here. Just please just jump on the car and you can stay down. Okay? That's all I ask, alright?
Back across the road because I want to see what probably the most unusual piece of gear. Yes, I think the most unusual piece of camera gear I've seen at a protest. Hello. How do you know who I... Hello. Oh, nice to meet you. My name's Chris. Thank you.
It's a 1986 VHS camera.
How did you know that I'd come and... You knew I'd come and talk to you about this. Okay.
Oh, we don't know who you are.
So you've brought a Soviet era.
Actually, it is from Russia. I was given this by a
Oh, no
friend
way.
of mine a long time ago, about 4 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to make film projects out of it. It takes great footage. So I think it's originally Japanese, so it's an imposter, but definitely Soviet era.
It is Soviet era, yep.
I thought it would suit the occasion.
And it's got a 9 to 54 millimeter f12 lens on it. Manual focus or auto manual focus? Manual focus. Manual focus. And a lead acid battery or something of the sort like that. With about 20. Oh, here it is. Here comes the unboxing of the. Wow. Can I feel it? Whoa. Okay. Does it say how many watt hours? This is your aftermarket battery that they're still making. 12 volt, 1.8 amp hours. So 12 watt hours in that. This is less capacity than a modern mobile phone.
Really?
Yep. 12 watt hours.
That's a TV day.
There you go. Can I ask you why you've come today?
Of course, well, I work for somebody here.
Okay.
And you and I have been in correspondence before, but of course, Credence.
Nice to meet you, Credence.
Yes, but of course, no hard nature, nothing like that. Just Credence.
I did try and explain that to Simeon and just say, hey, how you going? He doesn't want to.
It's alright.
Alright, well, that was an unproductive conversation. Sometimes you try, but sometimes people call you a beggar, and you call someone unacceptable. That's just how it
Well, if
goes.
it's any consolation, Chris, my brother always liked your work, so
Thank you.
Give you a handshake, and
Nice
might
to
have to
speak
be a
with you.
diplomat here and walk away.
Good. Bye. Thanks for the chat. How you going?
Yeah, good. How are you?
Come for the protest?
No, just walk down the street.
Oh!
What's going on?
I stand with Russia. #I stand with Russia.
I don't stand. Is that what you stand with?
That is. What do you reckon? Do you stand with Russia?
We stand with Ukraine.
You stand with Ukraine? It's okay.
I stand with Russia.
Stand with Russia?
Yeah, that's right.
You can stand next to each other. I mean,
But I just don't like all the media and the stuff that everything's switched around. I've got family in, my cousin is married to a Russian girl and he's got a brother-in-law in Ukraine. So he's been telling me the whole story, not what this is telling you, but what's on the ground.
what do you think about the media coverage?
Oh, we're just walking down the road and it's
Oh,
a
okay.
bit of a fight going on. But it's just,
Well, that's how we try and find a societal discussion. We're coming back and forth rather than talking to each other through Facebook comments, which are really unproductive.
what I might say to you,
Say again?
What did they say to you?
Simeon is a mini Putin in terms of attitudes. Simeon believes that the world can be seen through strength and weakness, and those who are weak need to be rubbed out, and those who are strong need to stand strong. And I'm someone he sees as someone who's weak and a beggar, because I like having pleasant conversations with people who might disagree. Let's have a chat. Let's not text each other on Twitter and say bullsh. But,
you feel for the Ukrainians.
I don't think war is good for anybody. No one. I think people lose out. It's like the Godzillas are having fights and we're underneath. The people are just collateral damage against squashed. So that's my opinion. I don't think any war is good because the people at the end of the day, they're the ones that suffer.
What do you think, mate?
What do you think? I think the
What about what?
No, I didn't listen. I mean, the Ukrainians, they don't want war. They haven't done anything wrong, and they're innocent victims being attacked by Putin. So you can't help but feel sorry.
Do you think Ukraine should stay neutral, not join NATO? Do you think that'll help?
They have to join NATO. They have to help them. You can't
Have to join NATO?
Yeah, you can't let 45 million people get killed, get annihilated. I don't think the world can stand by anyone.
Thanks, Judy. Simeon has something to say. Let's go and listen.
And they discovered, like many of you here today, they discovered that this war hasn't been going for 9 days or 10 days. This has been going for 8 years. And the CIA, the Americans, the Clintons, they were involved from a long time ago, from 2014. They created a regime change. They sponsored a coup d'etat. They filled Ukraine with weapons. And they've been pumping weapons into there. And this is the same thing they do all over the world. The same Libya scenario. You know, the same thing they tried to do in Syria. But Vladimir Putin stopped them. And because he's a thorn in their side, because he's a leader of the free world, they're adamant to go against him. They're getting up, the banking system was run by you-know-who is getting up on him to make it difficult for Putin, for the Russian people even, to use the bank. It doesn't harm Putin, it doesn't harm the Russian government. But these sanctions, a lot of them are inappropriate. And we see now that the Russian troops, the Russian peacekeepers, advancing very quickly, very successfully.
Where's that fat cunt Morrison?
Morrison.
Yeah, what's he saying about it?
Morrison sending missiles. Morrison sending missiles. We know what Morrison does when there's a crisis. He goes to Hawaii. And guess what? At the moment, Morrison's got COVID. How many jabs did he have? How many jabs did Morrison have? It didn't help him. Now, we know Morrison's sending missiles to Russia. I mean, that's a joke. Does anyone here think that's a good idea to send missiles to Russia? What do we think, guys, of that? Well, Scott Morrison, look, this is... Scott Morrison is acting in the interest of other governments. Scott Morrison is not acting in the interest of Australia. It's in Australia's interest to not get involved in overseas wars. Australia's a great country, it's a lucky country. We don't want to make trouble with Russia, and we shouldn't be making trouble with Russia. We should be focusing on our own issues, and if anything, we should be looking at China. You know, the Chinese have got a very strong fleet. It's very close to Australia. Why would we be making enemies with Russia? Because the Chinese have got spies in the Labor Party. Because these politicians are paid off by the Chinese. They're selling off our infrastructure, selling off our ports and airports and electricity grids. So let's just acknowledge the first thing here, that everyone here gathered, I can see Australian flags and red M signs. People have gathered here who love this country, Australia. Australian patriots have gathered here. We do not want to see a conflict with Russia or any other country. There are people here who have come out as well, families, women, children, who have come out to protest against the Russophobia in the media. Every day, day and night, 24/7. Russian missiles, Russian hacking, Russian election rigging, Russian spies. And this hasn't been going since, 9 days ago. This anti-Russian hysteria has been going for years. We all know that. They blame it on the Russians. What happened to Trump? All through his election, Trump was attacked and accused of being a Russian spy. And what happens after the FBI finishes their investigation? The FBI says, Trump's all clear, there was no links to Russia. But the mainstream media didn't tell us that. The mainstream media is very selective. And it's the mainstream media's fault that all of these countries are getting involved in Ukraine.
Fuck the mainstream media!
I concur.
Big gang providers!
Okay, so look, those who are triple jumped and triple masked have gone from thinking about COVID to thinking about Ukraine. It's just a brainwashing process. And you know, round of applause to Vladimir Putin for curing COVID. Yes, sir. I mean, there's no more COVID. Look at the news now, Channel 7, Channel 9, Channel 10, they've stopped talking about mandates, absolutely. And they've switched to talking about Russia non-stop. Now today, guys, there's some great people here, some great Australians. This is the first rally of its kind. And I want to say, acknowledge everyone here, to say you're very brave to come out today. When the whole world points the finger at Putin and says he's a bad man, he's a dictator, you're here to support him, to support the Russian people. And guess what? To support the Ukrainian people. Because only the Russians will help the Ukrainians. That's right. The West aren't going to help Ukraine. They won't send food, but they'll send bombs, they'll send missiles, they'll hand out Kalashnikovs, and they'll say, kill Russians, kill each other. And that's, the Russian president is sending into Ukraine humanitarian aid. All those cities now, all of those towns that have been liberated, and they have been liberated, because when the Russian troops are stationed, there is no war anymore. There is no violence, there's no Nazis. And we can see the massive weapons caches that NATO has left lying around. This is exactly what they did when they created ISIS in Syria. And who defeated ISIS? Vladimir Putin again. So the free world is watching and they can see who's who. Now, of course, it's a great tragedy. And we're all here today as well to make a point of that. It's a tragedy that once again, the West has turned Slavs against Slavs. They did this in 1917, they did this in 1991, and this is a special operation. And anyone who doesn't believe it's a special operation is obviously brainwashed by the mainstream media. The money trail in Ukraine leads back to Hunter Biden, to Obama, to Clinton, to Hillary Clinton, and they're the ones that have started this. They created a mess. The Biden crime family. They've created a mess, and it's the brave Russian soldiers who are fixing the mess. Now I want to make a note of the Russian soldiers. They're sustaining casualties. They're dying. They're spilling their blood for the freedom of Ukraine because they're not doing American tactics. Now what would Americans do? What would NATO do? They would come in with carpet bombers, flatten the cities and mop it up. Just come in with the tanks and infantry. Vladimir Putin has forbidden his troops from firing on civilians. He's forbidden his troops from destroying civilian infrastructure. And as a result, thousands of Russian soldiers, brave soldiers, are laying down their lives. Because Russians, when they go to war honorably. And it's an honorable thing. We see what the fascist battalions of Azov and the Nazi units are doing. Stationing artillery in schools, stationing tanks in hospitals, stationing machine gun nests and mortar positions on top of residential buildings. You know, of course if Vladimir Putin wanted to, the war would be over in 24 hours. It's not a question of that. It's a question of the fact that this isn't a war for the Russians. It's a peacekeeping operation, and one day the rest of the mainstream media, the blinded sheep, will wake up and they'll feel so embarrassed that they pointed the finger at Russia. Because you guys here know the truth. You know that the Russians are very honorable. They're not torturing anyone, they're not shooting any civilians.
One country invaded. Americans after the Second World War.
That's everyone.
60 countries invaded.
Fuck everyone.
Nobody says a word.
The Americans, exactly right. The Americans have been invading people every 2 years to pump up their defense industries. See, in Russia, the defense industry is owned by the government. There's no reason to renew contracts. There's no reason to supply more and more weapons. $85 billion of weapons are left in Afghanistan. Now wait till the Russians reveal how many weapons, how many billions of dollars the West actually sent into Ukraine. The Ukrainians, I really feel sorry for them because they're being fooled by the West. They're being used as cannon fodder. They're being used as a proxy army. That's right. Just to make trouble on Russia's borders. Now, the West, they dream of making an Afghanistan. They dream of making a Vietnam on Russia's borders. I'm very proud of all my fellow Australians here today who have come out. People from Newcastle have come here by public transport. We announced this only basically 48 hours ago that this is going to take place. And look at the turnout. I'm very proud of you all, because you people are the people that will lead the rest of the sheep. Those people that believe in these jabs and these mandates and these lockdowns, those people that believe in the scams that the government conducts against the people. And the same people now who are putting on their profile pictures Ukrainian flags. I mean, since when did TikTok models who talk about lipstick become experts in Ukrainian military affairs? I mean, look at this latest craze they've created. It's just a trend, and it's a trend, it's a brainwashing trend. People don't know where Ukraine is on the map, but they're carrying on. And there are brave politicians out there in Australia who are standing up, and Scott Morrison's not one of them. Scott Morrison is someone who is acting in the interests of NATO. Guess what? Australia's not part of NATO. Why can't we be like New Zealand? New Zealand has said, we're neutral. We're not sending weapons, we'll send medicine and food. Round of applause to New Zealand. Well done to New Zealand. And we should take an example. Because one day, Scott Morrison will have to answer for this, for sending missiles. I can't wait for the footage to appear of Russian Chechen troops capturing Scott Morrison's missiles and showing them off as trophies. You can tell me a matter of time. There was no reason for Scott Morrison to get involved. But we do have very good politicians in this country, and I want to make note of Mr. Sean Ambrose, who resigned from the United Australia Party 3 days ago, and because he had the pro-Russian position, he said, I'm going to resign because I support Putin. And he's a New South Wales Senate candidate, and I'm going to come forward very shortly.
Very NKVD.
Good afternoon.
I know you feel me, man, that's cool, but just stay in front.
There should have stood trial in Nuremberg, but he was protected by the CIA. And having been protected by the CIA, he was part of the re-establishing Nazi battalion. These Nazi battalions are spread throughout the Ukraine now. And they are backed by NATO, they are backed by the CIA. The war in Ukraine has eventuated to the point where it is now a swamp. The regime, the Zelensky regime is a swamp. They have been establishing biological weapons facilities. They did intend to release viruses, and there is an investigative journalist by the name of George Webb who is in Ukraine at the moment, and he's been investigating the depravity of NATO and the CIA for quite some time now. What Vladimir Putin and what Russia have done, it has to be commended. Vladimir Putin and Russia are fighting not only for the Ukraine people, the people of Ukraine, they are fighting for humanity. They are actually fighting for our children and future generations. Russia is the last bastion for humanity. The Orthodox Church is the last bastion for Christianity. What we have seen with the Vatican is that the Vatican is now a cesspit. It is a cesspit of satanic worship. They have been infiltrated by Freemasons.
And the corporate churches.
The corporate churches.
All of them.
How any religious leader could subject their congregation and their people to vaccine mandates, to poisons, it is beyond comprehension.
Money,
it is
money,
absolute
money.
evil.
That's what it's all about. The money.
Let us remember, St. George is a patron saint of Russia. St. George slayed the dragon. When we look at the Rothschilds, Lynn D. Rothschild, there is a photo of her, and behind her is a portrait of a demon eating children. Let's remember that St. George, when he slew the dragon, it was because children were being fed to a reptile. We must support Vladimir Putin and Russia in their efforts
to cleanse the Ukraine of these Nazi filth, these satanic filth. Vladimir Putin is fighting against the New World Order. Once we cut the head off the snake, this is all over.
Morrison's head.
Well, Morrison has some serious questions to answer. Not only Morrison, but every other member of parliament in this country.
Political whores.
Section 44 of the Australian Constitution dictates quite clearly that a member of parliament cannot sit in the parliament if they have an allegiance, an adherence or an obedience to a foreign power. The foreign power in this instance is the World Economic Forum. I don't ever recall a referendum in this country, a vote by the people as to whether they want to sign up to a globalist dictatorship. It never happened. There are sections in the Constitution that protect the people from medical mandates. Section 51, I think it's 23A. Thank you. So we have that, but of course what we are seeing, we have this criminal cabal in the judiciary. They are ignoring the Constitution. Only the other week we had in New Zealand a case which thus provided the police force and the army that they were not required to be vaccinated. Section 117, Section 6 definitions of the Australian Constitution actually still lists New Zealand as an Australian state. Section 117 of the Australian Constitution deals with discrimination and being disadvantaged. So basically what this means is that a person in one state cannot be discriminated against if a person in another state is entitled to certain rights and privileges. There was a precedent set in New Zealand. All we need now is for a legal case to occur, to be lodged here in Australia, and what happened in New Zealand will be, it can be used as a precedent to end these vaccine mandates.
Save the police.
And of course, the police force, these good fellows behind me here and that have surrounded the rally today, they will not need to be vaccinated. They cannot force jab them.
Yeah. The clot shot.
The clot shot. How any person could advocate for another human being to subject themselves to an experimental vaccine where there is no long-term safety data, a fit and proper person would not do that. It is criminal.
Lock them up. Lock them all up.
And that's exactly what's going to happen. There will be trials in this country. Once we get through this mess, there will be trials. There will be a Nuremberg 2.0. And people will swing. I am of the opinion that we need to reintroduce the death penalty in this country. And in particular, for members of parliament, the bureaucracy, corporate filth, media, any person that has a position of public responsibility and lies to the public should be dealt with accordingly.
That's right. That's right.
Rule 303. Could you imagine how quickly things would change in this country if we had capital punishment? Could you imagine bureaucracy, government officials, judiciary, raping and molesting children if they were going to be met with Rule 303? Things would change very quickly. We have a lot of problems in this country, but we can fix them. To fix these problems in this country, we need to unite. We need to stand together. One of the problems that we have seen with the freedom movement, and I love the freedom movement, I love everyone. One of the problems is there is a factionalism that exists. The factionalism needs to end. We need to unite because disunity spells death. I know about disunity because I've done 20 years on the waterfront as a union delegate. 15 years I was in Port Botany. I used to wage industrial campaigns on the job. I know what disunity brings. The moment you have disunity, it all falls apart. We need, as a movement, to stick together. We need to put the differences aside.
That's right.
Only then will we be successful. So I'm going to leave you now. I have something for Cossack as a token of our new friendship. I just have to find it.
Very suspicious reaching into the trench coat. Maybe Novichok, the people say.
Yeah, here it comes. Here it comes.
So as we know, Saint George, the father of Saint George, the saint, the patron saint of Russia, his father was a Praetorian Guard. I present this to you, Simeon, as a sign of our friendship.
Thank you. It's a pleasure that there are Australian politicians like Mr. Sean Ambrose who have a backbone, who stick by principles, and this gentleman here, amongst others, has actually derailed his political career by coming out and speaking in defence of Russia in this situation. He's withdrawn now from the elections. He can no longer go for the elections. And Sean, would you like to just join me? And I'd like to make a special note of that, and also once again highlight that there are so many Australians here. This is not a Russian shill event. This isn't KGB, although the trench coat may be. These are local Aussies who have come out in support of Russia. So let's just make a note of that, and let's honour this country, Australia, who allow us to have this demonstration, and let's hope that Australia doesn't get involved in any wars. Guys, and look, that's paying tribute to Australia. We're all Australian patriots here. And that's why we don't want Australia to be involved in a European war. We don't want Australian taxpayer money being sent to finance a war, to arm neo-Nazi battalions. Scott Morrison does not know the history of the region. I'm sure that he doesn't know where Donetsk is, Lugansk is, Mariupol is, Nikolaevsk, Odessa. He doesn't know what Aidar, Azov is. You know, Melitopol, which is now liberated by the Russians. Yet he sends $105 million of missiles and ammunition. That is what you call an irresponsible move. You know, they're great. It's great. Look, guys, we're going to give the microphone to members of the crowd here. So if you're going to be interested in speaking, I'll ask you to just come over and stand on this side in line, and we're going to go to our next guest speaker. But thank you, round of applause to Mr. Sean Ambrose again, and all the good people there. Pat yourselves on the back for being the first. Don't forget, the Russian...
Ропори насмешки слышит грозный атаман и могучую рукою обнял персианский стан. Волга, Волга, мать родная, Волга, русская река, не видала ты подарка от донского казака. Мощным взмахом поднимает он красавицу княжну и за бортье бросает на бежавшую волну. Что ж вы, братья, приуныли? Эх ты, Филька, черт, пляши! Грянем песню удалую на пламенные души. Из-за острова нас встречать на простор речной волны выплывают.
Did you come for the protest? Did you come for the protest? Well, good.
Brother came to Australia.
Excuse me, did you come for today's protest?
7 years ago.
Did you come for the protest? Tell us, why'd you come? Oh, good. Leave you to it. Did you come to the protest today, mate?
84 years
Tell
old.
us, I'm live streaming.
He remembers his
All good,
heritage.
leave you with
He's
it.
proud Australian, but he's come out here today because he knows that Russia needs support from others.
Did you come to today's
Round of
protest?
applause for this very good person. Good on you. Good man. No respect, mate.
Not yet. I'm not ready.
Not yet?
Yes.
Leave you with it.
Sorry.
Hard to get an interview. Very hard to get an interview. Can you tell us why you've come?
Okay. I've come today. It's not about the Russia-Ukraine war. Okay, I think a lot of people have got themselves too confused. Okay, there's always going to be casualties.
Why have you come today?
Okay, I've come today because I'm fighting for freedom. This is the truth. Okay, when you fight for freedom and you fight for the truth, okay, you got to stand up. And all those people that courageous to come out here and go against the mainstream media. The mainstream media are the culprits. Okay, when you look at what the Western governments have done, and you go back and follow all the money trails and all the wars,
yes,
we're sick and tired.
All back from Newcastle, and every single one of you, you probably woke up, looked out the window, terrible day, it's raining, but you still came here today. And I guarantee you that the Russian people won't forget this. You know, this will be over very soon, this operation will be over. And there'll be a victory parade in Kiev, and in the victory parade there'll be Ukrainians involved. Those who were, you know, for 8 years in the catacombs like partisans, waiting for the Russian army. It'll be a day of victory, it'll be a good day, and finally peace will come. And it'll be a day where all of you will be involved. You guys are now in history. Instead of being at home today, sitting on the couch, watching TV, you got up and came here. The whole world is against you, against Russia. Most of your neighbours will disagree with you. But as time goes, as the operation finishes up, they'll know that you're in the right. And just as with these mandates and other things, it's very easy to be brainwashed. And by the way, just an announcement from the officers, we just stay off the road a little bit, just for your safety, to make sure no cars. And guys, we've got Lebanese here, Australian state. Don't be shy, mate, come forward, show the flag proud. We know the Lebanese people, a lot of them out there, round of applause to them. We thank you. What's your name, mate?
You know, honestly, anyone that's against the regime of the, here, that's who I support. My wife's Russian, I'm here for my kids. What else? Of course, for my kids' future, and for the future of everybody, because we know who's really running the show, and they're destroying the people's lives. They're turning neighbours against neighbours, families against families, Christians against Christians, Muslims against Muslims. I'm Muslim. People, this is destroying the people. And the problem is, people are still sitting at home, right about the rain, when they should be here, they should be out in the protest, but they're lazy. They're just going to think that this is just all going to go away in a couple of months or a few years, that's it. It's not going to stop. We need to unite, get rid of this disgusting filth that's running the countries and running the world right now. It's political scums, that's what they are.
Thank you, mate, and thank you to the Lebanese community for their support. We've got people here also, we can see from the Greek community, come forward, and this man's brought an excellent flag today. Let's hold that flag up. It's the flag of the Anzac, lest we forget. Now let's not forget that the Anzacs and the Russians were always allies in the First World War and the Second World War. Australia and Russians should not be enemies at all. In fact, in the Anzacs we know that there was Australians and New Zealanders. The third highest minority in the Anzacs, would you guess, was actually Russians. It was people who were living in Australia as Russian Australians in 1914 at the outbreak of the war that actually volunteered and joined the Anzacs and went off to fight at Gallipoli. And there are plenty of Russian Anzacs buried at Gallipoli, at Rookwood Cemetery, at Quarantine Head. In particular, there's a man, Peter Chervin, who served in the Anzacs as a Russian Anzac. And all through the war, he committed heroic acts. After going over the top, he went out there and rescued wounded diggers, not once but twice. He was awarded bravery awards. Peter Chervin. And on the boat back from Gallipoli to Sydney, the Russian Revolution had broken out. And all of the soldiers on board the ship started bullying him. He was the only Russian on the ship. But he fought for Australia. He fought for the Empire. And on the way back to Australia, there was intense bullying, just like there is now in the media. Day and night, Russia, Russia, Russia. And this man, this hero, Peter Chervin, who went over the top and rescued Aussie diggers, he was really, you could say, demoralised by that. And when he saw the officers joining in the bullying, he went down below deck and he hung himself. And he left a suicide note. After surviving Gallipoli, after surviving how many times over the top, they discovered his body in the ship, and as they brought him into Sydney Harbour, they buried him at Quarantine Head. And Peter Chervin's grave, as a Russian-Australian patriot, is at Quarantine Head. And one of the things that we need to do as an Australian community, as a Russian-Australian community, is we need to, establish a proper monument there. Because he was buried, he didn't have any family or anything, but, and that was documented in the newspapers of the day. And Peter Chervin's example is very relevant today, because we can see the same thing. Now, Russian children in schools in Australia, because they have Russian last names, are being bullied by teachers. Many people here that know others that wanted to be here, but they're just too afraid of what their neighbours might think. As the rain intensifies, I just want to say once again, well done for being here, and I'll pass the microphone over to this gentleman from the Greek community.
Hello everyone. I'm here to support the Greek community. The Aussie Cossacks. Stand with Aussie, stand for our freedom, stand for our rights. This is our last chance. If we don't stand up now with the Russian, with the Aussie Cossacks, with everyone, it's going to be too late for us. We're standing up for our freedom, for our rights, for our kids' future. Don't listen to the media. Media is the virus. Media is the virus. Don't listen to that things. They're lying to the people for many, many years. They're getting paid millions and billions of dollars from Rothschilds, Illuminati, cabal, and all that people with they're controlling the whole world. These people are controlling the world. Today the whole world is being controlled by evil peoples. And these evil people, they need to be destroyed. They need to be destroyed by us or by God. We need to stand up now for us right and for us freedom. God bless Aussie Cossack, God bless Australia, God bless the whole world. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Okay. Guys, we know that there are parents here today. If any parents want to come forward and say a few words on behalf of their children who are being vindicated by the mainstream media, by by their peers, we know you're here today, and thank you for coming. But we'd like to say a few words. This is something that's going on and needs to be called out. The big campaign of Russophobia. Now, I told the gentleman, he offered me the umbrella. I said, give it to Putin instead. We've got to preserve that.
He's not made of sugar. He's a man of steel.
Thank you to the Serbian community as well for coming out today. I'm going to round of applause to all the Serbians here and hand the microphone over.
Simeon, I'd like to say thank you. My parents immigrated from the former Socialist Republic of Yugoslavia. I'm Serbian of ethnicity. The Serbian people will always be grateful when the Austrian-Hungarian Empire declared war on the Kingdom of Serbia, that Russia came in our time of need, and so did the British Empire that came in the time of need. Our Anzacs and our Serbian warriors and the Russian warriors all fought side by side. We were allies for not one world war, for 2 world wars. We've got to put this Russophobia to the side. We are all God's children. Doesn't matter if we're Christian, Islamic, Buddhist or Hindu. The elites always like to divide us. United we stand, divided we fall. And I'd like to say thank you for all my Serbs that came here today to stand with our Russian brothers and sisters. You do me proud. Bože za čuvaj Srbe. Hvala puno. And thank you, Sean. I'd like to say thank you. It takes courage to speak up. There's not many Australians that speaking up what's happening with this false narrative. And you did well. Thank you.
Simeon. Right. Let's go with the song. Is there another speaker, Simeon? Yeah. All right, guys, it's raining, but let's make some noise. Let's let the consulate know that they have support. All together. Russia! 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 It's very good that there's a lot of people here today standing with Russia. You know, it reminds me of when Vladimir Putin was at the grave of the unknown soldier, putting a wreath in the rain. But in a few moments we'll have the Russian General Consul will come out to address the crowd. So we're waiting for that moment, ladies and gentlemen. We'll hand over to our next guest speaker, and we've got a few words that people would like to say. Thank you very much.
Russia will win. Thank you. Wait for Russia.
That's it. Stay calm and wait for the Russian troops, the peacemakers. Guys, what we have in Australia at the moment is a situation where a lot of people have been blinded by the mainstream media. You know, people are looking at what's happening, believing ABC, believing Channel 9, and there's a lot of anti-Russian sentiment. We're very patient. We know that they'll come around. It's a matter of days or weeks before those people that are speaking out against Russia and conducting this, campaign, a hate campaign, demonising Russia, they'll come around. Let's forgive them. They're just believing the media. The bottom line is, the truth is that there were 14 biolabs, weapons testing, biological weapons testing labs in Ukraine, and Putin destroyed them. Missile strikes run by the Americans and financed by the CIA, and that's a very good indication as to what is actually going on there. Now, I know this gentleman's very vocal. We'll give him the microphone. Round of applause.
All right, yeah, I'm a loudmouth. I was born here in Australia. I'm Greek as well. We stand with Russia. Screws everyone. Screws the Middle East. Killed the Middle East. All right, they're after everybody. Okay, and it's time for them to go. You don't just stand here and cop it. True? Yes. We're just going to cop it? No. No. Okay, there's a lot of people here that are unvaccinated, and there's a lot of people that have had the 2 shots, and they said 2 shots was the deal, Berejiklian. That was the deal. Now you want a 3rd shot. Now you want another variation. Now you want another shot. Now you want lockdown. Okay, it doesn't work like that. Okay, the only way we can get over them is to stick together and to be persistent, and then we dominate these people. You have to dominate them. You can't lie down. Okay?
Thank you very much. Well done. All right. Okay, we've got... Okay, let's go.
If anyone's been in the trade union movement all their life, we have this chant that goes, shame, shame, ScoMo, 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 shame. Australia and its citizens, we don't want you anymore, and I hope Australians wake up to put the Labor Party, the Liberal Party, at the bottom of the ballot paper, but that's where you scum belong, right at the bottom. Shame!
Thank you very much. Guys, our next guest speaker is a man who's wearing an Akubra hat, and his name's Nikhil. Here we go, Nikhil.
I'll keep this short and sweet. We're in a time of very heavy misinformation, a lot of information warfare. We're not against, peace. We want peace, and I just want to say the heart breaks for civilian deaths and for the deaths of the young soldiers. But we just want to reinforce the NATO influence there, and the influence of the New World Order and the deep state and the cabal is not okay. It needs to end. And the antagonizing needs to end towards Russia, and we hope and pray that it ends soon and quickly and with as least deaths as possible. Just keep your eye on the truth, dig for the truth, don't get deceived by misinformation, and God bless both Russia and Ukraine.
Thank you,
Okay, I'm just going to say something additional. If Scott Morrison pledges troops to the Ukraine and overcommits those troops, he may as well send an invite to China and then ask for every Australian woman to put a lamb roast in the oven for them. We have no business in the Ukraine. Australia, Morrison, Albanese, Craig Kelly and the UAP should have taken a neutral position. We have no dog in this fight. We are now sleepwalking into perhaps a third world war, or perhaps, as they say, World War Z. World War Z. There will be no coming back from World War. One thing the CIA have not taken into consideration was that during the Cold War, a number of small nuclear devices were planted throughout the USA. They were so prolific that the Soviets lost count of how many were there. Grandma is probably still looking after these devices. Biden, Dementia Joe, needs to take this into consideration. Nobody wants war. This can all end peacefully. This can all end peacefully if NATO withdraw from the Ukraine. There is no other way out of this. There is no other way out of this. No one wants to see war.
Russian bikers are here.
No human being wants to see war. I implore Joe Biden and the US administration to sit down with negotiations with Vladimir Putin and withdraw the forces from the Ukraine, to disband these Nazi regimes and to sit down and negotiate peaceful resolutions.
All right, guys, thank you very much, Sean Ambrose. We've got a guest speaker here, very interesting gentleman. He was the victim of a mainstream media news attack a few days ago. The Daily Mail did a hit piece on him because he's not afraid to show his pro-Russian sentiment. His name is Alexander Buryak. Round of applause to this man. Thank you.
Thank you, Simon. My speech will be very short. As a half Ukrainian and half Russian, I'm for peace, obviously. Ukraine and Russia together, but without NATO and Nazis, it will be peace. Peace now. So my appeal to Zelensky is to admit reality and, well, put down his Nazis around him. That's the only chance. That's all. Thank you.
I'm almost running out of things to say, which is quite unusual because I usually have a lot to say. This election is vitally important. It is vitally important that we do not vote for the Labor Party, the Liberal Party, the Greens or the Nationals. These parties are corrupt. They are part of the criminal cabal. We need to support the minor parties, the minor freedom parties and the independents. If it means voting below the line to do so, then that is what we do.
There you go.
So I implore you to educate yourself in regard to voting below the line, particularly in regard to the Senate. In regard to the House of Reps, well, actually what we may encounter with this election is that they are going to split the vote. It hasn't been done since the 1970s, and what they are intending to do is they will convene an election where only we will be voting for the Senate. And then, as a tactic of delay, what they will do is they'll convene another election for the House of Reps in September. The reason being is that the government are hoping to regain the initiative. They are hoping to recapture the Senate, and if they recapture the Senate, there is a bill currently in exposure draft in the Senate at the moment. It is called the Trusted Digital Identities Bill. This bill, you will not hear anyone in the mainstream media talk about this bill, but this is the basis for the social credit system. The government are intending to recapture the Senate, but to do so they need to split the vote. Pardon? The election process. They need to split the election process. Once they capture the Senate, they will punch this bill through the Senate. It will become law, and they will introduce the social credit system. It will be very unhappy days if they introduce this social credit system. As such, we need to ensure that every like-minded person, every freedom fighter, every person of the same opinion votes below the line. Votes below the line in the Senate. Do not vote for the Liberal, the Labor, the Greens or the National parties. They are stooges.
Thank you. All right, guys. We've got a proposal here from the crowd. Now, while we're waiting for His Excellency, the General Consul, to come out, we'll, in honour of the Russian troops, the peacemakers, and if you know the words, sing along, the Russian national anthem. Sounds good? Sounds good. Here we go. Russia! Guys, none of our Serbian brothers. For the Serbians out there, for our brother Serbians.
Don't video me
Lady very concerned about her appearance because she took her shoes off because they are sodden. And let me tell you, I have a pair of Gore-Tex 9 shoes. High ground. Good time. Simeon mentioned that someone's bringing down the Russian Consul General in a minute, so we're going to see what he has to say when he gets down. Let's check in on the most important thing though. How's the food going? How's the barbecue? Someone driving by and supporting. Oddly enough, looks like a Southeast Asian fellow. Put a sign, West, we do not start World War, Russia for peace.
God's given it me when I was waiting for a hot dog.
Well, you're holding it. It's yours.
You should have a hot dog, Chris.
I'm not sure if I can have a hot dog, but I'll at least film the food, which is an important part of my experience.
Yeah, you know, I'm just an Aussie. Nothing, no extraction, interesting extraction other than just Aussie.
I'm not going to get ejected if I take. I'm okay. Oh yes. All right.
Well, I believe in diplomacy, right?
Yes. It's food. It's snack time. Let's get in.
I was going to ask you to hold that.
Hold the sign.
Maybe I'll put that down for a second.
Holding signs is a dangerous thing.
Would you like me to get you one,
it's
or
an
do you want to come and
implicit
get one?
approval, so I can't hold signs. Okay, it's warm undercover
Very,
here.
very traditional what they're doing here. These are all good boys.
I might actually see if I can actually ask some people some views.
Do you want me to get one ready for you, or do you want to?
No, I want to go through the process. Thank you, though. Thank you. Very polite supporters here. Ask some people some difficult questions before we go anywhere else. English? Okay. No English. All good. Thank you. Can I ask you why you come, sir?
Well, there's just an overwhelming amount of propaganda. It's just fake news on the mainstream media.
So this is a protest for you anyway, against the mainstream media.
Not just against the mainstream media, but against the corrupt establishment that's running corporations for profit, not only profit, but taking resources all around the world, creating wars, millions of people dying around the world.
So anti-capitalist, anti-establishment?
No, I didn't say anti-capitalist, right? It's just a handful of corrupt individuals that's...
Anti-globalist then?
Anti-globalist.
Okay, so anti-globalist.
That's got their hands on the levers of control.
Anti-crony capitalism.
That's exactly right.
All right, so anti-crony capitalism, anti-corruption, pro-competition capitalism. And anti-World Economic Forum I've been hearing here as well.
Well, that's exactly right. Yeah.
And we'll come back, excuse me, sorry, there's honking. And you always got to run towards the honking. I've got to ask people who are going to get kicked on the next protest. You're going to see how long that lasts. Water just ruined everything. Alright, looks like the honking is just ordinary honking. I'm going to come back. Can we pick up where we left off? Now the honking's over. The single rule that we've all seen is that this war was not happening 2 weeks ago, and now it is. And now Russian tanks are in Ukrainian territory. Fair conclusion to say Russia started this war.
Well, no. In fact, this war's been happening for the past 8 years, right? So people of eastern Ukraine has been shelled by the Ukrainian army. I know a lot of people won't believe that, but if people just go and do their own research and find out what's really happening, this war's been happening since 2014, right? Now, basically, you have men, women and children being indiscriminately killed, right?
That war's been happening, but there's been ceasefires in that for years.
No, it hasn't been ceasefire. The Minsk agreement has been broken by the Ukrainian government several times, and you can look it up, right? The war's been happening ever since.
Back to that there haven't been Russian tanks in Ukraine 2 weeks ago, and now there are. That was a change in borders. And that's got everyone, all out of sorts, all across the world. So people are concluding Russia started this war. Isn't that a fair conclusion to come to?
Well, what happens when the Russian people are being shelled constantly in eastern Ukraine, Russian-speaking people being shelled constantly for the past 8-9 years or so, since 2014, right? And nothing's been done about it. The Western mainstream media has been completely silent all this time. There's 13,000 plus deaths, and it's happening even as we speak right now. It's been constantly shelled, right? And nothing's been done about it. But, these peacekeepers come in to stop the shelling, and now, all of a sudden, the mainstream media is reporting there's a war.
Jump up again, commotion.
They're speaking in forked tongues.
Thank you, sir. So there seems to be a group of people arriving here with wolves on the back. Is this the grey wolves people speak about? I don't know.
Делала несколько раз. Yeah, I will send. Yeah,
okay.
good. Not very well.
Well, I haven't been evicted. So far, so good. That means something. The tone was pretty bad earlier, but no, I'm still here. Looked like I'm even going to be fed while I'm here. Looked like I was about to be chucked out of this thing when I first arrived, but I'm still here, guys. And hopefully you can still hear and see some of what's happening. Going.
Hello. We are all together.
Good to see you here, Chris.
Good to see you, mate. M50 Mark 1 or Mark 2?
Mark 2.
The weather sealing's better, but keep in mind,
yes, it's going to get destroyed. Yeah.
It is not weather sealed, nor is that lens. I know, because my M50...
You killed it?
So, my condolences on the no touchscreen already.
So what happened?
The touchscreen will die later tonight. My condolences.
It will definitely die.
Mine did in the rain.
Back it up.
My condolences. It's okay. You can still use it without the touchscreen. You'll get by. You'll get by. It happens.
How wet did you get it? Very wet?
Pretty wet.
Yeah,
pretty wet.
It's pretty wet, Mark.
Pretty fucking wet. I had the 55 to 200 on it, and that was fine, but yeah, touchscreen no good.
I'll be making a donation to the channel, mate.
There we go.
We'll see what happens, mate.
Oh, is this Cossack's gear?
No, it's ours.
Oh, yep.
Yeah.
You've got a separate channel?
I'm going to have to get over here.
Go.
Galactic Larrikin.
Galactic Larrikin. Alright, I'll talk to you later. Go. Chase the story.
All night through the night.
I love speaking to media guys where I can. Let's get back to... Oh, cripes! Oh! Scratching shoes.
All the way from Melbourne non-stop. They've been to church in the morning to pray for Russia and to commemorate all of those who are giving and laying down their lives for peace. Boys, don't shall come out. Let's get all the night wolves here. Plenty of room. Lift up.
Don't forget the Prime Minister, we've got a situation. We got a problem.
Alright guys, all the bikers come forward. Now these Daily Mail, the newspaper, calls these guys Putin's patriots. Mate, I think that's a compliment. Round of applause to them. Well done, guys.
But there we go.
Alright guys, it's my pleasure that today we're joined by a group from Melbourne. The Russian Night Wolves are here, and they're here to support the community. They're here to support the Russian community. They're here to support Russia. They're here to go against the mainstream. Now, a lot of the mainstream people think that Russia's bad, but these gentlemen have driven all the way from Melbourne, and I'd like to pass the microphone to the president of the Night Wolves Melbourne chapter, Mr. Bobby Sewage. Round of applause.
Thank you. Спасибо. We all know what's going on out here. We all know why we're here. Naturally, driving and riding 1,000 kilometres isn't very much for the sacrifice that the people are making in Russia right now for the and our dear president for the New World Order. Obviously, we know what's going on. It's a lot deeper. We agree, you know, they've got their own versions. Ukrainian people have got their versions. It's part of Russia. It always has been. It always will be. We know the unfolding events, obviously, in the Balkan with the Serbs. Okay, there are pockets going off. It does not go in favour of certain peoples around the world. That's fine, but it's not the first time in history that we have gone through struggles. Okay, and gone hungry. The main thing is your voice is heard. Do not get intimidated by them. Okay, we love Russia, whether we're in Moscow, whether we're in Australia. Okay, we will come out. You will make your vote. Your vote is very important as well. Okay, naturally we've got independent brothers here going for the parliament. This is another way of also assisting our vote, our journey, obviously, into saying Russia is a friend, it's not the enemy. You know, the Slavic brothers are not the enemy, they're good people, okay? But from our president, okay, Chirurg Alexander Zoldostanov, he says a big hello to all the Russian people here in Sydney, Melbourne, Australia, everywhere. They are obviously, they're doing their best over there. We're doing our very best to keep the morale strong. We're not intimidated, we're not scared. We're here to be with you, you're with us. You know, it's about narod. Okay, we are the people, we need to stay together. Other than that, naturally, we do hope that the war will finish soon, that the real truth comes out. We know who the real aggressor is. It's not Russia. We all know who it is. Okay, it's sad that casualties are happening, but we also urge and ask them to hurry up, come to the peace table, stop doing what you're doing, you know, stop coming into Russia. You were asked 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago, stop it. Okay, in the Balkan, stop it. You know, our Serbska bratia, okay, they told them, don't come. Obviously, they keep encroaching. That is fine. Okay, but more importantly to the point is we're going to stick together, and I thank you for taking the moment, obviously, to hear me out. And once again, a big hello from Nochny Volki in Moscow, okay, the brothers, and all of us in Australia. Спасибо очень много.
Well done to the boys. That shows real commitment. You know, the media talks about patriotism as if it's a bad thing. Now, I think patriotism is a great thing. If you're an Australian patriot, if you're an American patriot, if you're a Russian patriot, you understand one another. And that's what all of you here today are. Most of the people here are not even Russian, would you believe it, if you look around. These are people who are Australians, who are awake. They know what's going on. And we're very impressed that it's a big turnout today, even though this gathering was announced only 48 hours ago. And it's the first of many. So guys, I'd like to also welcome somebody from the Russian community, a lady called Ksenia, and she has a few words to say about the terrible pressure that the community is under and the Russophobia that's out there and her efforts in that. Welcome her, please, with a round of applause.
Glad to see you, everybody, and thank you very much you everyone come today to support Russia. I'm a Russian woman born in Moscow and live in Serbia and speak Serbian as well. I come to Australia from the war in Serbia with my husband. And we know the NATO, America provoked this to happen. We used to live in beautiful our houses, and that's happened. We come to here and as a refugee. Twice in this war since 2014 I've been in Donbass because I'm president of Russian Ethnic Cultural Support Organization from Heart to Heart. Twice I went to the war and I spoke with the priest there. I spoke with a lot of people who was in jail and was come back from the change the people for everyone. This was two of them, and very interesting fact, it's people not from even Donetsk, they're from Ukrainian. They're from Cherkasy, from Kiev, from everywhere. They come and fight for Donbass people. Against people who forgot their historical roots. What's the historical roots for everyone, for Slavic people especially? It's experience and mature of our parents, grandparents, and we have to keep this. And now they provoked Ukraine to be with America. And it's been 30 years with America, French. Since Господин Putin, he take Russia away from the American occupation.
Ура!
Ура! And Ukrainians, they occupied them still. And they let them to go to other way with America. And 30 years they are friends. Which relation? What's the result of this relationship, I want to ask? This is terrible. So many revolutions happen. So many civilian war happen. Killing people around. The people scared to talk. This is terrible things. And Nazi, they very horrible things did at Donbass. I spoke with one priest from Debaltseva, and he said he buried 100 young, beautiful women. When was Debaltseva, как сказать, котел по-английски?
Battle for Debaltseva.
The battle for Debaltseva.
Yeah, battle for Debaltseva. A priest was there, and he's just buried 100 young, beautiful ladies, and they will still killed in the terrible way. It used to be, the Bandera did like this.
Fascistic.
He's a real fascist. My grandmother is Ukrainian. Another 3 parts of my family, it's Russian. But I remember from the war, my grandfather bring grandmother to Moscow. And when she hear it, she's Ukrainian, she speak Ukrainian language. When she hear it, name of Bandera, she cry and say, worse than Hitler, don't you? Worse than Hitler. That's what Bandera is. An American relationship make these people friends and make these people hero of Ukraine. He is not. And a lot of people know that. In Donbass, in Russia, and all Slavic, they know. Because Bandera fight with the Hitler. Even America, she's not agree he's not a Nazi. She knows. She in public agree he's a Nazi. Why they support this politics in Ukraine, I don't know. Just to destroy our Slavic words, our religion, Orthodox religion. That's, I don't know, every 100 years it's happened, and it's happened again. And we want to stay with Russia. And hvala braća Srbi, hvala braća Četniki, da su došli, da su support us. Serbe, Russian, Bracia zauvek! Srbi!
Bracia zauvek!
Bracia! Bracia zauvek!
Srbi! Rusi! Bracia zauvek!
Hvala to listen to me. If everyone wants to see the picture from Donbass, how it was, when I've been, I have a books, photo books. You can come to me and I show you the Donbass.
Round of applause for the Russian lady, senior local Russian mother, who's been tirelessly working, defending the community. Guys, I want you to all have a look at this sign here. Excellent sign, I noticed, that this lady has brought today. Russia doesn't start wars. Russia ends wars. And this sign here, no NATO troops at our borders. Russians can defend themselves. Well done to this lady, round of applause. Right, now, it's very true that we don't want NATO. You know, Ukraine doesn't need NATO. In fact, no countries where NATO has been have said a nice word about NATO. Russia, yes. NATO, no. 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 Yes. Guys, look. Of course, you know, we're full of spirit and we're bold. And we're, you know, sharing in the glory of the peacekeepers. They'll go down in history as being people who put their lives on the line. They could do the American tactic very easily. They could be like NATO and send in the B-52s and the A-10s and the carpet bombing and the cruise missiles. But the Russian troops are there to protect civilians, to preserve civilians, to protect civilian infrastructure. They're peacekeepers. The mainstream media will deny this, but the results speak for themselves. Those cities that have been liberated by the Russian army, it's peaceful, it's safe, and people can once again come out of their homes and choose which language they'd like to speak. They can speak Russian, they can speak Ukrainian. Now we're dealing with a Kiev Nazi regime, the regime of Poroshenko and the regime of Zelensky now. For the last 8 years, have been killing people according to their ethnicity, according to their religion. How many massacres and how many atrocities were conducted by this regime? When the truth is uncovered, and it's all coming out now, when the Russian investigators, the Следственный комитет, come in and dig up what happened, the Americans, the Germans, the Swedish, and Scott Morrison will be very ashamed to learn who they were supporting, what kind of a regime they were supporting.
Shame.
Let's just recall, before the Americans, before the NATO point the finger at Russia, let's just take a moment to recall. 1950 to 1953, they attacked Korea and China. In 1954, they attacked Guatemala. In 1958, they attacked Indonesia. In 1959 to 1961, they attacked Cuba. In 1960, they again attacked Guatemala. They attacked the Congo in 1964. They attacked Laos in 64. Up until 73, they attacked Vietnam in 61 till 73. They attacked Cambodia, 69 till 1970. Guatemala again, 1967. Grenada, 1983. Lebanon, 1983 and 1984. Also, they attacked Syria. They attacked Libya in 1986. They attacked El Salvador in 1980s. In Nicaragua in 1980. They attacked Iran in 1987. They attacked Panama in 1989. They attacked Iraq in the Persian Gulf War in 1991. Kuwait, 1991. Somalia, 1993. Bosnia, 1994. 1995. Sudan, in 1998. Afghanistan, 1998. Yugoslavia, 1999. We'll never forget how the Americans bombed Serbia for 78 days. 78 days in a row they bombed from the air, hitting civilian buildings, hitting trains, hitting hospitals. Even on the night of Easter, on the holy night of Easter, the Americans bombed the Serbs. Yugoslavia 1999, Yemen 2002, Iraq 2003, Iraq, Afghanistan 2001, Pakistan 2007, Somalia 2007, Yemen 2009 and 2011, Libya 2011. Since then, since 2011, they've been in all sorts of places. And it's the pot calling the kettle black. How dare NATO, how dare they point the finger at Russian peacekeepers who are conducting a peace operation in their own backyard. Ukraine is Russia's backyard. And I repeat, nobody will help the Ukrainians except for Russia. Sending missiles, sending weapons and missiles is not help. Handing out Kalashnikovs to citizens is genocide, is murder. The NATO generals sit there and laugh as the Ukrainians kill each other. The Nazi battalions of Azov are turning against the Ukrainian regular forces. Where the Russian troops are, there's peace. Look at Crimea, guys. Crimea. The West said Russia invaded Crimea. Since March of 2014, there has been absolute peace in Crimea. Not one bomb, not one attack. There has been absolute peace. So who's the aggressor? It's definitely not Russia. The aggressor is America and NATO and those countries who use Ukraine. Our heart goes out to the Ukrainian citizens, the poor people of Ukraine. They're being used by the Americans. At the end of the day, the only country that will come in and rebuild and restore and help Ukraine is the Russian Federation. Let's have a round of applause for Russia and let's give our support. Guys, before we continue, we're actually going to give the microphone to a Ukrainian person. But before we continue, let's just have a moment of silence. Let's have a minute of silence and commemorate. Let's commemorate the civilians. But let's commemorate the civilians on both sides. Let's start commemorating the civilians from 2014. Let's not talk about the last 9 days. Let's commemorate the Russian-speaking civilians, the Ukrainian-speaking civilians, and let's commemorate the brave soldiers on the Russian side who are peacekeepers, and the regular troops of the Ukrainian army. Who we will not commemorate is the nationalist battalions, and they don't deserve to be commemorated or remembered. Now join me in a minute of silence for all the good people and innocent people out there and the heroes of today.
Что хотел?
Вечная память, we'll remember them. I'd like to invite a gentleman who's Ukrainian, and as we know, come forward, don't be shy, please.
No.
He's Ukrainian? Where is he? He's scared. He's scared? Where is he? Well, bring him forward.
Ксюша, ну я не могу по-английски сказать так, как нужно.
Let's round of applause. Let's round of applause for this gentleman. All right, guys, his name is Victor. He's born in 1939, and he stands before you wearing the St. George's ribbon. This ribbon signifies, the black signifies the smoke, the orange signifies the fire, and it's a symbol of the World War II sacrifice that the Russian army made and the Soviet army and the Ukrainians. So Victor will speak in Russian and I'll translate.
Спасибо всем, кто пришел на этот митинг. Поддержать Россию, поддержать Путина в деле освобождения русского народа, украинского народа, всех наших православных людей.
Thank you to everyone who's come here today to support the Russian people, the Ukrainian people, the Orthodox people, and support their mission in Ukraine.
Мои родные от Ворошиловградской или Луганской области, Красный Луч, Донецк, Макеевка, Красноармейск, Павлоград, Днепропетровск, Борисполь, Киев и Львов.
My family comes from the regions of Lvov, Donetsk, Lugansk, Krasny Luch, which is eastern and western Ukraine.
Мой отец – участник войны, Второй мировой войны, инвалид и похоронен в городе Макеевка. Это Донбасс.
My father is a veteran of the Second World War, and he fought in the war and he is buried in Makeevka. This is in the Donbass.
Скажу я вам честно, это идет не война русских и украинцев, это идет война всего русского народа, русского мира, всех православных против фашистов, тех, которых не добили во Второй мировой войне.
This is not a war between Ukraine and Russia. This is a war between Russia and the fascists of the world, the whole world. Those who we didn't finish off in the Second World War.
Русских очень много в России. Даже маленькая девочка, бурятка, своим родителям сказала, ей 6 лет. И когда мама спросила, кто ты по национальности, она сказала, я русская. А мама удивилась, я же твоя мама бурятка, папа твой бурят, бабушка бурятка. Как ты русская? Я русская. И мы все плечо к плечу во время Великой Отечественной войны защищали землю, не только Москву, мы защищали и Казахстан, и Дальний Восток, и Украину. И с нами плечом к плечу были узбеки, казахи, татары, и украинцы, и белорусы, и русские. В этом сила России, в единстве всех народов.
He recalls that in Russia, a little girl that is from the Buryat minority, she said to her parents, I'm Russian. And her parents were surprised. And all of the nationalities in Russia, in Kazakhstan and Ukraine and Russians and everyone everywhere, all the different nationalities and people, they fought together, shoulder to shoulder in the Second World War against the fascists.
Когда произошел Майдан, 7 марта я приехал в Киев. И там выступал Михаил Ходорковский.
In 2014, on the 7th of March, when the coup d'etat, when the Maidan took place, I came to Kiev and I saw Michael Khodorkovsky on Maidan. He was speaking.
И когда я спросил моих товарищей, что я пойду сейчас выступлю после этого Ходорковского, они меня взяли в кольцо и не пустили. Люди были запуганы, люди исчезали где-то в лесу, в посадках, везде, как в Одессе. Людей запугали. Это фашистский метод устрашения. Но люди не сдались. Многие сейчас выступают за союз с Россией.
Many people were afraid to speak up, and I wanted to speak on the Maidan in 2014 with the coup d'etat. I noticed that people were afraid, and many are afraid to this day. And Khodorkovsky was speaking, and this brave gentleman spoke, and he wasn't afraid. But many people were afraid, and are still afraid to speak up.
Я поддерживаю связь со всеми своими родственниками, со всеми своими друзьями. И сейчас волна возмущения именно пропагандой западной такова, что люди поднимаются, сдаются, воины, офицеры украинской армии. Они не хотят, они прозревают, они не хотят воевать за интересы олигархов, за интересы Соединенных Штатов Америки и НАТО.
I regularly speak to a lot of my relatives in Ukraine. I make phone calls and we talk. And they're reporting to me that right now, officers and soldiers, droves of officers and soldiers of the Ukrainian army, they're surrendering. They don't want to fight. They don't want to fight protecting the oligarchs, protecting the West's interests, protecting the interests of NATO.
Я скоро возвращаюсь на родину. И сейчас у меня есть выбор. Но выбор у меня один. Я приеду на свою родину и буду вместе с своими людьми.
Soon I am planning to return back home. And I have no choice. And I will go back there and I want to be together with my family. And he's going to go back to the Ukraine. Even though today, this is my words, even though today he's on camera, he's being filmed speaking out against the regime. So if the Russian peacekeepers don't succeed, a gentleman like this, upon returning to the Ukraine, could face very serious danger. They could kill him and attack him just for him speaking Russian and speaking out.
Я здесь случайно. Я приехал в 2019 году на день рождения моего внука. И начался ковид. Поэтому я задержался. Но я знаю, что мое место там. Поэтому я стараюсь как можно быстрее туда уехать.
I'm not local. I was here by accident. I came for the birthday of my grandson. So I don't live in Australia. But because of COVID, because the border's closed, I've been stuck here for the last 2 years or 3 years. But I'm returning back to Ukraine.
Всем вам большое спасибо за поддержку, за солидарность и за единство с нашим православным народом.
He'd like to say thank you to each and every one of you for the solidarity and for unity and your support to the Orthodox people. Very brave man. He's a very brave man. Guys, we also have people from the Assyrian community. But before we invite the next speaker, let's make some noise. The General Council will hear us.
Excuse me, guys. Did you come to counter-protest or you came for the protest?
Yeah.
Tell us about your sign.
Sorry?
Tell us about your sign.
No, somebody gave me this one.
Oh, okay. But you're holding the sign, so tell us about the sign.
Yeah. I'm holding it. What do you want? I don't know.
Okay, I just wanted you to tell me about the sign. Okay.
No, that's all right.
Thank you. Thought I saw a Ukrainian flag on one of them. Apparently the Consul General is going to come out at some point.
Guys, we're humbled as the Russian community in Australia. We're humbled to see the support from all our fellow Australians. It really means a lot. There's a lady here that's from France. I'd like to give her the microphone. Round of applause. Let me come forward and say a couple of words here as well. With the support of the French.
Public order and riot here. They shut up a little while ago. CNG, just keeping an eye on things. Don't forget we've also got federal and state trying to work together, because this is important for protective services to try and ensure the safety of consulates, whatever type they might be.
Anyway, I just want to say that in France, they are culprits as well, not only NATO. They want to take over Ukraine. That's their aim. It has been their aim for many years now. And really, Macron, our president, the French president, is very, very keen of taking NATO because they would have NATO, Ukraine because they would have the control of the country. And if they do, if they succeed with NATO, it will be the end of Russia and the end of humanity. So people should not realize that it is not, that it is just a question of war, in bracket, a war between Russia and Ukraine, but it's our humanity which is at stake. Because next time, if when they have peace, when they make peace, Russia and Ukraine, when they make peace, and it will be, they will, Europe probably will say, oh, it's owing to EU that we made peace. It's not because of Russia. Russia is a culprit, it's a bad one. And next time, the bad state, the deep state, will find another way of controlling the humanity all over the world. We have been controlled here by the flooding 3 years ago or 4 years ago, I forgot. It was the fires, which was very unusual, and now with the flooding. And next time, after the war, now there is no COVID. No. It's now the fear of the nuclear war. Nuclear war, that they put that in the head of people. But next time, what are they going to find after the peace between Russia and Ukraine? What are they going to do? We have to find a way. You know, personally, I follow Ricardo Bozzi, but I don't think it's a way to go every weekend to Canberra and sit in the lawn, listen to music and so on, and asking the governor to step out. He will never do that. He will never do that. And maybe he's not even in Canberra at the parliament. So what do we have to do? What next we have to do? You know, I think the answer, that's what, if all the doctors are culprits, if the doctors have been in the street from the beginning 2 years ago, and they should realize that it was a scam. They should, even if they are not, if they are orthodox doctors, they should realize it was a scam, and they should have been with all the medical staff in the street, and this would have the COVID would not have succeeded. And the culprits, I think, are the police. The police force, I mean, not the ones who are in control, of course. Policemen, they're just away. And the army, the military, they are the culprits with the doctors, with the lawyers. If everybody were stepping in the street, we would have millions of people. And I'm sure the government here would be dissolved.
Thank you. Well done. Thank you to the French. Big thank you to the French delegation who's here today in support. Now guys, something interesting is happening. We're eagerly awaiting the Russian General Consul to come out. But this is very interesting. Listen to this. The Russian General Consul is so, you could say, dignified and courteous that he sees it as inappropriate to address the people at a rally in a foreign country. Now the Americans, not only do they get involved in rallies, they finance them. They walk around, they make Maidan, they walk around and hand out money to people to make coup d'etats and overthrow regimes. They do it in Syria, they do it in Libya, they did it in Ukraine in 2014. So the Russian General Consul, His Excellency Mr. Igor Arzhayev, will not address the crowd, but he thanks everybody for being here. So it's not seen as a inappropriate gesture. That's what you call a gentleman and a Russian diplomat. The American diplomats should learn. Round of applause to His Excellency. Is it okay for what? Yeah, thank you. So please help yourselves. Come up. There's sausages and barbecue sauce and so forth and so forth. And there's a few refreshments for the blokes as well. Some things. But let's get together. This lady would like to have a photo, and I think that's a good idea. Let's have a photo. The best place to have a photo, I would say, would be
Where's the best place to have a photo? Let's have a look.
Let's go and get some questions. Let's go and talk to some people. Shut on camera. Is that why you've come today?
Let's go across the road.
I'm coming to support the meeting against the war, and I'd like to say for all people to be quiet, to be very friendful, isn't it? And I think that Russia will go very well and doing everything very well.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hello, good to see you again.
Nice to see you.
Tell us why have you come today?
I've come because my son wanted to be here, but he said we.
I can see your son there.
Yes, supporting. Oh God, the God. I look terrible.
It's okay.
You're not gonna.
You've forgotten why you've come, but that's okay.
Yeah, no. Well, it's just about the Russian, like you know what's going on, like what the media is telling us.
Dear friend, please can you
the media is telling the world that the media is telling the world that Ukraine, that Russia's invading Ukraine, but in actual fact they're not. So it's more. Hi, Jacob, you're right. There you go. Oh, okay. Oh, so yes.
Looks like.
Put it right up. Put it up. All the way up.
So it looks like he's moving the crowd across the road. It looks like there's a photo opportunity here.
Yeah.
It looks like Simeon's moving the crowd across the road to try and get a photo opportunity.
I'm just following them.
Yeah, sure. Just following them.
But I know what we're here for. I know what we're here for.
Good to see you again. Okay, all right, guys. Well, it's so that's the consulate over there. A couple of people coming. AFP States trying to, yeah, they're like States like, what are we doing? Are we shutting the road? I don't know. So States trying to work out what they're doing over there. Protective services are there in front of the consulate, being like, what's going on? What do we do? What do we do? And here's the. So it's a quick moving situation. Yeah. First we're like, what do we do? It stays like, I don't know. Good times. All right, so I'm going to get around the back of this photo op. Oh yes, get someone who doesn't. I'm live streaming, not on with you. Can we talk? Oh no, they're all good, all good.
No, I'm just live here.
That's okay. I love it for the conversation. Can we? No, all good. So there you go. There's a back. I love it. I'm gonna need a wide-angle lens to get that. What do you? Oh!
I was here earlier, then I was like, I get both of them.
Just go for Simeon.
Tell me why you're here today, mate.
We're here today to support the Russian peacekeepers because we believe that they are bringing peace. We believe the Russian peacekeepers are actually there to liberate people from fascists, from these neo-Nazis. We're here to say, NATO, get out, keep away. Western governments, stop sending weapons, stay away from Russia's interests. You're going to cause World War III. We want peace, we want stability in the world. We want to make sure that the Ukrainian people are supported and protected. And the only people, the only country that actually cares about Ukrainians is Russia. At the end of the day, It's Russia who will be supplying humanitarian aid. It's Russia who will be rebuilding Ukraine. It's Russia where Ukrainians feel safe. Look how the West is treating the situation, sending weapons and more weapons and weapons. Stop sending weapons. Leave the job to Vladimir Putin, the Russian peacekeepers. And people here in Australia, they're awake. They know what's going on. They know that Vladimir Putin is dismantling the establishment. He's dismantling the cabal. He's dismantling these bioweapon labs. And people are switched on. After 2 years of mainstream media propaganda in Australia, the result is that people know not to trust the media. No to censorship. No to Western censorship of Russian channels. We want the truth. Stop censorship against journalists. These people are out here today to support Russia. Russia! 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 Russia!
That's a wrap. Well, what can you say? What can you say? Hopefully we have to ask the people some questions in a minute. Fairfax 9?
Huh?
Fairfax 9?
I say
from Fairfax.
No, Channel 9.
Yeah, Fairfax. Fairfax 9. One team, one dream now, but yeah.
Fascist America down! God bless Putin! God bless Putin! God bless Putin! God bless Putin! God bless Putin!
Oh, someone sent me some stars. Thank you.
God bless Putin! 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 Help yourselves and enjoy some refreshment. Thank you.
See you, mate. Next time. Tell us, guys, where have you come from?
Melbourne. We come to support our brothers. Good.
That was a good chat. So now they're leading everyone over to the food. Am I going to be able to ask some questions? Maybe, hold on, snacks? No, snacks come at the end. Snacks come at the end, Chris. Work first. There you go.
Good to see you, man.
Tell us why you're here.
Oh man, it's a similar fight as a freedom fight for me, really, man. It's all American propaganda bullshit. It's constantly. I'm a child of bad foreign American bureaucracy. I had to flee my country, which is Russia, in 1994. Assimilating is a lot harder for a young person you might think. Then you get the whole like not fitting in stuff, and yeah, there's a little it's mainly more American propaganda, just doing its thing as usual, and has been doing it for a long time. And it's sad that so many people are listening to it. It's like, what? Because they advertise TVs as fucking smart televisions now. Everyone needs to listen to the 95-inch TV.
So the conflict that's going on, who started it?
It'd be America a long time ago. That's the thing. It's ongoing since after the Second World War, maybe even before it, like depending on like how far back you go into it.
So there's a 75-year-long war.
Possibly
so
longer.
when do you say, okay, well, look, this is put it down. Just put it down.
Yeah.
Is there some point that we can say this war?
Well, man, I honestly think the Russian Revolution in 1914, 1917 is kind of where it started. Maybe even before World War One. Yeah, man.
Sometime in the last 105 years.
There's been a really, really big, strong anti-Russian sentiment for a long time now. A long time. I used to get bullied about it in school even when I was younger. So like,
well, you're a commie.
Yeah, man. I'm a proud Russian. Freaking culture's beautiful. The women are beautiful. Like
communism on the comeback there.
I don't know. Anyway. China's doing amazingly economically, I suppose. Let's say it that way.
No, I mean within our schools and what have you.
Oh, that yeah.
UAP Senate candidate. I gotta go with him.
No way. Go back. Have a good one, brother.
Thank you, mate. Lovely coat, sir. So to cut in. Chris, live streaming. Hey, Sean.
Live streaming for who?
Discoveries. I go to all kinds of protests, and I asked them the very simple question: tell us why you came to this protest.
Yeah. Well, today comes to this protest today to stand in solidarity with Vladimir Putin, the people of Russia, and of course the people of Ukraine, and to ensure that the world knows what's happening in Ukraine. So, following World War II, Bandera should have faced crimes in Nuremberg. He was allowed to continue on.
Now, World War II was a long time ago now. So if we're bringing up sins from 1945 or what have you, at some point can't we say 65, 75 years ago?
Well, when you've got Nazi battalions that have been financed by NATO, financed by the CIA, and they're committing war crimes and atrocities against the Ukrainian people, and we're not drawing a long bow here. This stuff is out there, and this stuff is still happening. So what Vladimir Putin is doing, he's gone into the Ukraine to basically drain the swamp. The NATO, the CIA, and the US have gone into the Ukraine. They've set up child sex trafficking operations. There's organ harvesting. There's biological weapons factories. I mean, it is basically the swamp. It is the swamp for the New World Order, and it needs to be stopped.
So
now what?
So part of politics is also not just about what is right and what is wrong, but also what's popular. And the topic that you're here for today is unquestionably unpopular. Is that something that went in your decisions this week, or what you're thinking about is how popular this issue?
It's conscience. So I'm driven by conscience. I'm a conscience-driven person. This is actually, this is unpopular, but I actually couldn't sleep at night with having been gagged, not being able to speak out about what is happening in the Ukraine and with Russia, and in particular NATO, these war crimes and atrocities that are being perpetrated against the Ukrainian people.
Now, you were a UAP candidate until very recently, and now you've reconsidered that decision. What are your plans from here? Are you going to run as independent or form a new party, or you've just?
Well, it's a bit too late it's a bit too late at the moment to form a new party. So
will you be running?
I cannot confirm that at this point in time. I am in discussions with a few other people. There's quite a number of UAP candidates that are feeling the same way that I am. So whether they bought in, that'll be a matter for them.
If I can rephrase and you joined the UAP or hope to be a candidate quite a few months ago, and the reasons that you joined the UAP then, don't they still hold true today as well?
The values that I joined the UAP with, I still hold today, and that is freedom. We were a freedom party. I joined on the principles of freedom, and part of freedom is having the divine right of free speech.
Do the Ukrainians have the freedom to associate themselves with the European Union and NATO?
I don't think they do. I think the Ukrainians, they're being deceived and misled. They're being deceived and misled by NATO. We have seen with NATO throughout some of these revolutions that have taken place previously, like in Syria, like in Afghanistan, Iraq. It's the same play. It is the same place. So the CIA get in there with NATO and their agitators, and they create these kind of resistance movements, and then they coup d'etat.
Do you anything else? How do people find your socials or find more?
So I'm.
Do you have a Telegram?
I'm on Telegram. I'm on Twitter. I spend a lot of time.
What's your Twitter?
Twitter account, Sean Ambrose.
Sean Ambrose.
Cool. Sean Ambrose. Facebook, of course. I've had more bans on Facebook over the last 12 months than I got another ban the other day, another 30-day ban. I've had about 8 or 9 months worth of bans on Facebook in the last 12 months. So I don't spend much time on Facebook these days. It's generally a platform for censorship and cancel culture.
Cool. All right. Sean Ambrose, thanks for the chat.
Thank you.
See you.
Thank you.
Cheers, man.
Take care.
Former UAP Senate candidate Sean Ambrose, no longer. Landscape update. So Public Order and Riot checked in with an inspector, and the conversation looked to be, do you need us here? And he's like, no, I don't really need them. AFP, Protective Services, at least a couple of units moving on. Back to durability or whatever. State's moving on as well. Got about 8 left here.
So tension ramping down some, and food coming out. Let's have a quick look at the food. Fine, I'm going to just have a look. Sango and the bread roll.
The booze.
Oh, that's the booze.
That's the booze.
What's the booze? What do you got?
Plum brandy. Smell it.
Plum brandy.
Yeah, because Russian vodka not sell anymore in the bottle.
Oh, you can't get Russian vodka?
Yeah, you can.
So you just plum brandy.
Only like this, yeah.
That's an interesting one.
No wonder they keep warm in the cold.
How is it?
It's got some bite.
It's got some kick. Let me tell you.
It'll either put hair in your chest or take it off.
Go and get
depending on-
one. Go on, go and get one.
I'll dive in. I'll have a look. I'm always here for a snack stream. But I want to ask you why you came today.
To support the Russians, yeah.
But why do you support the Russians?
Because we know what's going on behind the scenes
And what's going on behind the scenes?
with the deep state.
And this is your stand against the deep state.
Yes.
Is Ukraine part of the deep state?
Well, Zelensky is.
Well, it's been run by the deep state. It's as simple as that. And the proof's in the pudding. And let's just hope Putin goes through and cleans it all out.
So you're standing against the Ukrainian leadership?
Yes, yes.
You're finding you
Not
down
the Ukrainian, not the Ukrainian people.
It's definitely not the Ukrainian people. It's the Ukrainian dictatorship.
Still, the Ukrainian people are suffering as of what's happened for the last couple of weeks. Life ain't as good as what it was.
Well, the Ukrainian people have been suffering for 8 years under the different dictatorships. So I think you'll find that they're probably happy that Russia's coming through and actually liberating them. That's my take on it, and that's how I feel about it.
And you feel there's a big overlap between vaccine mandates and deep state and Republican Trump? You see there's kind of a rhyming, a broad something.
I can't really,
don't know.
I can't really
Not
say
sure.
that. But all I can say is now that they've got something new to focus on, it's amazing how the COVID sort of vanished.
Media hype cycle, man. I'm here.
Yeah.
So yeah. Chris, live streaming on Discoveries. Check it out.
Chris.
Good to meet you, man. Thanks for the chat. I like having people say something. It doesn't even look right, wrong, whatever. Just say it. Just talk to me. Don't be like, oh, I don't know what I can say. Hello.
I'll tell you why Trump can't be anti-vax.
Hold on.
Because he had to push their hand to get that vaccine exposed for what it is. He had to push their hand. All right. So the reason why Trump couldn't get involved in all of this is because they were waiting for him to be anti-vax. Because when they turned around, they would have blamed him. They would have blamed Trump. Created Operation Warp Speed. So now we're going to offload all the blame onto you. You see what I mean? So he can't get involved. He has to be in part. I'm anti-vax now. So they're going to say, well, you said the vaccines were good. You pushed it first.
All right. Let's have a look at what the snack delivery is over here, which is almost gone. Oh no, you got a second, unwrapping the second one. Whatever protest I go to, if there's snacks, I'm always interested in what they're serving. Can I ask you about your snacks?
Yeah?
Please, don't let me interrupt you, but I want to know, what have we got here?
We have sausages.
Bought from...
I'm from Russia.
Oh no, but where did you buy the sausages?
We just get delivered.
I don't have any. Who do I have to ask?
Just can serve you, you know.
I might do that actually. I might go and ask him that. What do you reckon? Your thumbs up? Okay, Cossack supplies sausages. I gotta go and Cossack where he bought the sausages. Am I brave enough to? No, I'll ask Chris. I'll ask the producer. I know he doesn't want to answer questions, but I have an important question that I would like to ask him. Where did you buy the sausages?
Where do we buy the sausages?
Yeah.
I don't know who bought the sausages.
Well, I don't ask. I don't have access to asking questions.
From Russia, man.
Well, where you bought them from?
I didn't buy them actually. It was one of his boys that bought them.
How can I?
I can ask for you.
Could you? Could you find out any details you
Yeah.
can?
Did you get one?
I'm about to get one.
Okay, good.
And that's part of the journey.
Oh, okay.
Thank you. Now, in case you're wondering, I don't get to the relationship with the Cossack is really bad. So he doesn't like me, like really doesn't like me. I'm glad that I'm even here and I'm not thrown out. So I don't get to ask him questions. Anytime I come near him, I get the side eye. But while I can't ask difficult questions, I might be able to ask where the sausages came from. And maybe
maybe I'll get an answer. Maybe. And not get kicked out. I might get kicked out. I might get kicked out. It's okay. Alright. Yes, the relationship is really that bad. And it's his beef, I don't mind. I'm just here to try and cover protests. That's what I like doing. But the problem is I like covering protests really honestly, like raw. So I'm not really like a partisan guy where I'm like, rah, rah, good cause, woohoo. If you make yourself look silly and say something silly and your cause is silly, like I'm just there to cover it. So yeah, that's it. If you're gonna say don't tell him Bible. Evelyn. I'm on the job. Oh, it's all wet. Can I ask any of you guys here why you've come? I'm Chris. Live streaming on Chris Discoveries. Good to meet you. Tell us, why have you come today?
I think you know why we're here.
Well, I want you to tell me, otherwise it's not very...
Yeah. Well, this is probably from a non-Russian. I've got some I'm mostly Syrian, and I know in the Syrian civil war, I still got family in Europe, but my branch of the family left in 1910. But because of Putin and his dealings with Syria and saving them from the jihadi invasion, the Turkish invasion, my family can now roam the streets free without a threat of bombs, without nothing in Aleppo.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And there's been under siege for 4 years until Putin stepped in and gave a hand. So here I am returning the favour, as it were.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
No, thank you. Yeah, not much of a follow-up to that one. It's kind of going back and forth on, is the Syrian civil war really a good thing or a bad thing? Look, I can't really do that. That's not something I can really do.
That's why you need to be a pedophile.
Oh, can I? How is it?
Oh, it's beautiful.
Good.
And I'd like to say thank you, Simeon. You've done a good job today.
Well, I've used my one privileged question through the producer to ask Simeon one question because we had a difficult moment earlier.
Yeah, it does happen, yeah.
Yeah, that does happen. So I used my one question through the producer to ask him where the sausages came from. I'm not going to be able to challenge him on anything else today because otherwise it won't go as well. But so I'm going to find out about the sausages. But I'm here for another reason because you're here as a representative of the Serbian community.
As unofficial, yeah. But I'm more than happy to speak to someone of Serbian background. Yes.
You're carrying a Serbian flag at I Stand With Russia protest.
It was a Russian flag I was carrying, not a Serbian flag. It was upside down, but same colours.
But you need the crest for the Serbian one.
Actually, technically you don't.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because they do still carry the tricolours without the coat of arms. So if you go to Republika Srpska, they don't have a coat of arms.
Still, we're not here for that. We're here because, well, Ukraine-Russia is now... You can call it a special invasion if you want, but it's a war. There is a war
There is a war happening, yes.
Whether it's a war that's been happening in eastern Ukraine, whether it's a war happening between Russia and Ukraine, many thousands of people are dying.
We don't know the exact number, but there are people dying, yes.
Whether Russian and Ukrainian figures both say it's in the thousands.
Yeah.
So thousands of people are dying, bullets are being fired, there's tanks at a nuclear power plant. This is significant. This is not a minor skirmish. And we're here to stand with one of the parties in that war. But we're not in that country. We're not in Russia. We're not in Ukraine.
No, we're in Australia, down the land of down
so
under.
Why does that matter so much that you're here standing in the rain?
Standing in the rain, like the Serbs and the Russians have a special relationship with each other. We fought side by side with each other centuries against the Ottoman Empire. We fought against the Austrian-Hungarian Empire. We fought against Hitler's Nazi Germany. So it's a special bond between our people.
But does that bond last through Russia starting a war?
Well, it depends who you say. Some people see that as an operation. I'm going to be open-minded. I'm not going to be stating yay or no, right? Some people might say Russia is starting a war. Don't get me wrong. Some people might not. But at the end of the day, what happened in Ukraine is sad, right?
But we live in a democracy where popularity does matter. And a popular opinion...
I refer to say that we live in a democracy.
A popular opinion is that this war has been started by Russia. So we've got to start from that base.
Okay, but I'm going to say we live in a democracy with these lockdowns that we have, our democracy is a fraud.
There are certainly flaws with it, but certainly popular opinion matters, and the popular opinion is Russia has started a war. Does that bond between Serbia and Russia last through whether they've started a war, they're now in that war?
Well, a lot of people said Serbia started World War One with the assassination of Prince Ferdinand. At that time, yeah, I mean, you got to look at the history of that time, how people viewed it. And today, with the media painting the narrative, they're saying Russia started a war. Russia doesn't see that starting a war. They see it as denazification of Ukraine.
And in that First World War you're speaking of, 1 in 10 Australian males aged between 18 to 45 signed up to go and join that European war.
That's
We
correct.
picked a side.
Yeah.
And
but don't forget, Australia's part of the Greater Britannia, part of the Commonwealth. So they had to go by default when Britain, I think, Russia declared war straight away in the Austrian-Hungarian Empire. When they declared on Serbia, Britain the second day joined in that war.
So if we're facing the same situation as the First World War, are we standing here, perhaps on the wrong side?
Well, I don't see there's a wrong side. I'm going to be biased on this one, right? Because I'm of Serbian background, so of course I'm going to be biased. But at the end of the day, we got that bond. You can't break that bond. What happened in the Ukraine, people dying, I'm sad. I don't want to see a loss of one life. But when you see what happened in the Donbass region since 2014, and a lot of Ukrainians that speak the Russian language are getting persecuted and getting killed, why aren't people talking about that?
It's another conflict.
But I'm just saying, Vladimir Putin deliberately went in because of what was happening in the Donbass region.
Take some.
Yeah, I got some there.
Take some more.
Can I use my one question to ask? Where'd you buy the sausages? Where'd you get the sausages from?
At a butcher.
That's right. That's good.
Tell me about it.
My favourite butcher in Berwick.
Beef?
Yes.
Beef?
Yes.
Gluten free?
No.
He wants the real stuff.
I don't like gluten free. They're vegetarian.
Vegetarian beef
No, they're not.
sausages.
My favourite butcher, always go there.
Favourite butcher?
For all my events.
Can I ask you? I'll take one, please.
You got to take one.
If it's
So
not
we say Pasiba in Serbian, we say Fala.
How'd your protest go?
Fantastic. Excellent success.
I was saying to the Chris, the bond between us Serbs and Russia has never be broken. But we go back to the Donbass region, right?
Well,
but what happened?
If I can
I'll let you have the
segue.
sausage.
I got my answer.
Yeah.
But they're not gluten free, so I can't have it. But that's okay. I got a sausage.
Man up a little bit. Grow some hairs on your chest, mate.
That's not how immune systems work. Otherwise, I'd. But no, butcher, Burwood, read it well.
I'm happy. And look, it was just considering the rain, what happened was awesome turnout in short notice. And we've seen the protest down at Macquarie Street the other day.
Thank you guys.
Okay, see ya.
So you mentioned the protest in Macquarie Street. Are you trying to say that this is all linked together?
It's not linked together. I'm just saying devoted people, whether rain, hail or shine, these people were devoted here for the cause and they showed up, which was great.
And this cause for a lot of people is going to be seen as supporting a side that started a war, as we've seen from people driving past, honking their saying boo Russia and what have you.
Yeah, but with the media rhetoric, it's a continuation from the Cold War days. Like you look at between the East and West, how many years have the media been bagging Russians out? It was part of the Soviet Empire. It wasn't Russia, it was the Soviet Empire.
So this is
not a war.
Okay.
Because they going in
Okay, I bought that 2014 in the
That was
Donbass
Russia
region.
before. They just liberated this area now.
There's a lot of Ukrainians who now view themselves as a completely separate nation, and if they want to associate with NATO, they can. They want to go their own way.
Well, you got to look what happened in the Soviet Empire days. They had a buffer zone because they didn't want NATO right on their doorstep.
And just as we wouldn't want to be a buffer zone between two powers, Vietnam didn't want to be a buffer zone between two powers, nor did the newly born United States. Didn't want to be a buffer zone between anyone else. Ukraine wants to go its own way, and that looks to be west, not east. Can't they go their own way?
Well, just biggest thing is you look at the NATO build-up, and that's what Vladimir Putin's concerned about. It's right at his doorstep. It's not like at the fall of the Soviet Empire, that's when the former socialist republics broke up. They were not NATO member states. But you look at Poland, you look at Poland, Estonia, Bulgaria, and Romania. They're NATO states now. So Russia's petrified. They're coming closer on their buffer zone. So there's multiple issues involved in this. So you've got the Donbass region, what's happening since 2014 with the conflict between the locals. You've got NATO creeping closer with their membership. So there's multiple factors involved what's going on.
But the simple fact of what Ukraine feels, believes, and what they have to say is they don't want to go that way. They want to go their own. And that might mean that there's NATO arms. They want to join, they want to move west, is where they're going. And there's absolutely a debate about whether the Ukrainian people want that or whether the Ukrainian leadership, but there are Ukrainian people who are living in Ukraine who really do want this. Otherwise, they wouldn't have held.
Well, they need to have a referendum before they can say, do they want to join NATO or do they want to join the EU?
They had one with the Maidan Revolution. They had one. There was a huge
a lot of
protest.
people from a Russian background will say that was a proxy from the West. So that they'll dispute that straight away.
And now we're kind of, everyone's a proxy.
It's disputable. So you got the Donbass region that's disputable.
Yep.
You got NATO that's coming closer, it's disputable. So this war didn't happen overnight. Oh, sorry.
No, I'm still here.
Oh, I thought you were going to film something else.
No. Just I think Simeon and Maria and the UAP candidate look to be heading into the embassy.
That could be it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but there's multiple factors involved. What happened didn't happen overnight.
Yep.
And what happened? Anyone that loses their life, it's sad. Sorry, I don't condone any loss of human life.
And that's what this conflict does look like it's leading towards.
Yeah. Well, it could be another World War III. We don't know. Look how World War I started.
Maria, Simeon, that UAP Senate candidate is heading in. The Grey Wolf, the Wolf people, camera guys seem to be heading in. Excuse me 1 second.
All good, thank you.
Oh, good, thank you. No, okay. Sorry. They all seem to be heading in. G'day. That's good. You can talk to me off camera. I'm filming what's happening at the gate.
We're just here to support the Russians.
There you go.
No, absolutely not. We're supporting freedom and bullshit media. Yeah, I don't want to see absolutely. Yes.
So anti-deep state, you feel that this conflict is part of a bigger conflict?
No, but seriously, if anyone is being killed in any kind of war, I'm not with it, but I don't like the fact that the media gives us like a false, media hype.
Where's the sausages?
Sausages are just over under the gazebo. Go grab one. They're from Simeon's favourite butcher in Burwood.
Where are they?
They're from Simeon's favourite butcher in Burwood. There you go. Sad part about the wireless charger is that it doesn't actually charge. It just reduces the power consumption. So we're at 5% here, so I'll just go back to... We'll just stream until we're out of power. Mr. Sternhill. Free for chat?
Yep.
Tell us, why have you come here today?
Well, I know that mainstream media tell crap, and as soon as we heard all this stuff, we knew immediately it was 100% the exact opposite of what's happening. We've known for a while that in Ukraine there were the George Soros's neo-Nazis in George Soros's coup in the Ukraine, and there's been also the stuff happening there since 2014. What Putin's actually doing, he's standing up like Donald Trump. So full marks Putin for doing it against the deep state.
So this is again part of a bigger picture, you feel?
Oh, well and truly part of a bigger picture. So Putin's standing up to the big banks. He's standing up to WEF, standing up to the deep state, the criminal cabal, to root out the labs in Ukraine, the biolabs, the neo-Nazis installed there by George Soros, and the money laundering operation. So the Ukraine is the head of the snake in terms of money laundering for the Ukraine. You know, that's what Hunter Biden was doing, and Joe Biden there with the quid pro quo business, or the military funding in exchange for kickbacks with Hunter going on board of Burisma.
So you feel that's all linked together?
They're all from Melbourne. Yeah, so there's that money laundering of taxpayers' funds through disguise as aid. It's not the only tactic they use. There's all the book launches, book deals, or getting $50 million, or even if you sell 10 books, it's definitely a con. And the cutting off the head of the snake.
You're referring to the links between the Biden family
and the corrupt Zelenko regime installed by George Soros. He is one evil bastard, that guy. And how he's been allowed to survive for so long is just a disgrace of the whole human race. A guy that was complicit with the Nazis in betraying fellow Jews to the Nazis during the war. His excuse, I was only a boy, is a load of BS. My dad is the same age as George Soros and was in the same part of the world at the same time, at exactly the same age as George was betraying fellow Jews to the Nazis. My dad was trying to derail a Nazi train by himself. So who's the mensch and who's the schmuck? Both got similar amount of brains, so it can't be a case of, dad's a dummy. That's not the case, because dad, in his prime, dad was definitely as smart as George Soros.
But these days with globalism now, with the world so interconnected and globalism rather than not just an idea, it's everyday reality, isn't cross-border lobbying just current? From Americans lobbying in Europe, Europeans lobbying for interests in America, and we lobby for our interests in America as well. Think of our former ambassador to the United States, Joe Hockey. When his time while he was in DC, he described it as exhilarating, like the center of a new Rome. And he planned to move his family there. He was so enthralled with the United States. Isn't lobbying now just part of an interconnected globe?
Doesn't matter.
But it all leads back to one world government, and that you don't have to be a genius to see that it's only a matter of time, back to be immediate, that one world government becomes one world dictatorship, and there'd be nowhere to go, nowhere safe on the entire planet.
A lot of people want that one world government. They look
well, that's because they're naive.
Naive, they might be.
They think, no more wars, and they flap their little wings. The unfortunate thing is we won't have any freedom. So what's the... you don't need a war. If everyone has no freedom, there's no freedom to fight for, because they haven't got any anyhow.
There'll always be people watching, even now,
who think it's a good idea.
Who think it's great. But what do you say to them? Because rather than calling them naive is not going to change their mind. Calling them ignorant is not going to advocate the cause that it sounds like you're saying, that we need some decentralized government, that one world government isn't the way to go. What do you say to convince them out of that? Because naive is not a convincing point. Let me just say that. So try something else.
The way to wake people up, especially now as not enough people are awake, is to question. You have to question the narrative. So it's up to people like us to induce people to ask the right questions, and then when they ask the questions and seek the answers for themselves, then they realise, I've been conned.
What are those questions?
Well, in the case of COVID, what happened to the flu? Why did the Australian Bureau of Statistics in March 2020 put out a directive for doctors to report deaths as being of COVID when they died with any symptoms of COVID? Why did the joint statement between the TGA and APRA basically threatening doctors and allied health professionals with action, which i.e. deregistration, if they harbour any anti-vax sentiment, and that includes on social media. So they're being told they can't think and express themselves the way they believe. So they've been inhibited from giving the correct advice to patients who are having the jab.
Most people who aren't here will be very confused what all of the points you just raised there have to do with this giant photo of Vladimir Putin outside the Russian consulate. How the hell does this come together? What does this have to...
Well, interestingly enough, one of the main targets in the Ukraine is biolabs. So Bill Gates has actually hinted that there'll be a release of another pandemic, and that's being developed in Ukraine among other places. So there's biolabs in a number of places, and Putin is taking those down, along with other things like the the money laundering and the neo-Nazis installed by George Soros.
So the biolabs...
There are biolabs, I think there's about 7 or 8 biolabs in the Ukraine, and they're developing things a bit like the biolabs
Gain of function.
Gain of function. A bit of essential reading for everyone who's got the time to read it is the Robert F. Kennedy book, The Real Anthony Fauci. I've read right through that. Once you read that, you'll see the absolute evil of vaccines and the absolute Lysenkoism coming from Anthony Fauci.
Lysenkoism, I know that one.
Yeah,
Speaking of Lysenkoism, this is Lysenkoism in the Soviet Union.
Well,
where science was abused for political purposes.
And there's a political patronage of Stalin. So his theory was complete a load of bovine excrement.
Okay.
And anyone who opposed him, they had their careers destroyed, some of them were executed, and that's exactly what we're seeing now. People who oppose what is actually quite an absurd narrative are finding themselves debanked, their careers are being destroyed, they're being smeared.
The threads on this are way too deep, so
for the average.
far too many. So I'm spinning with it. I'm going to go and see if I can find some more simple talking points. But do you have any socials you want to shout out, or just move on? You mentioned some books, which is good. You want?
Yeah. So what's essential reading is that Robert F. Kennedy, The Real Anthony Fauci. If you want to understand what's happening there with vaccines in particular, an essential read.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks, mate.
Keep up the good work. See ya.
Talk to you, mate. That's a lot. What can you say there? That's a lot. That's a lot.
Without that, it just runs in your face, then it turns to
Waterproofing advice happening? Discussion? Police? Excuse me. Can I pat the dog?
Yes, of course.
It's a poodle.
His name, no, it's a Labradoodle.
Labradoodle?
Zolo.
Oh, is it? Oh, is it?
He'll love you if you give him one of these.
Oh, do I get to give a dog a snack?
Yeah.
Oh.
You want to do it?
I love that. Oh, let me just feed. I'll be with just
Zolo,
one second.
Zolo, look. You're a friend.
Hello, Zolo? Oh. Dog snacks.
There you are, thank you.
No, thank you.
You're a good little boy. First protest.
First protest?
Yes, he hasn't really sort of...
There you go. Why have you brought him to this protest? Or why have you come to this protest? Let's do it. He's got limited...
Why have we come to this protest? For obvious reasons.
We don't know what the obvious reasons are. Just to help us out.
Solidarity with the people of Ukraine because of what's happening at the moment, which is a blight on the whole world, the Western world.
People have raised the topic of globalism. Is that what you're referring to, or...?
No, I'm referring to the fact that good people have to do something when they see this sort of situation occurring. Full stop.
What situation is occurring?
Well, the Russians are invading the Ukraine. Is that what you think?
I'm asking you why.
That's what I'm saying.
The Russians are invading.
We are at the right protest, aren't we?
You're here. Hold on. Are you here? Do you believe Ukraine, Russia, or what?
Yes.
We don't think that Russia should be invading Ukraine.
Okay. This is an I Stand With Russia protest.
Is it?
Yes.
Good. We're in the right place then. We stand against Russia.
This is a pro-Russian, is it?
Yeah, this is a pro-Russia
We're
protest.
anti-Russian.
Yeah, so that's Simeon Boykov, and they see the huge photo. See the huge photo of Putin over there.
I did.
And the Russian flags and the
Yes.
Serbian flags.
Yes.
Yeah, this is a pro-Russian. No, this is pro-Russia.
Really?
Yeah.
You're saying last week it was a protest.
Oh no, this is definitely pro-Russia.
So we've had pro-Russians. Are you Russian?
No, not at all. I cover all kinds of protests, and I'm glad to be speaking with you. My channel is called Discoveries, so I go to all kinds of protests.
What channel is that? Who runs it?
Me.
Okay.
I live stream protests end to end because large corporate media doesn't do a good job of covering
No,
this
I
kind of
agree
thing.
with that. Sure.
And I walk up to people just like you and ask you,
why are you here? That's why we're here.
Because that to me is really important. Through BLM, I wanted to hear why people are going to protest, not just... And now we have fires.
So are you a journalist by training?
Not at all. In fact, journalists by training, in my view, died sometime in the late 1980s, 1990s. Richard
long ago,
Moorcroft,
do you think?
Stuart Littlemore, Media Watch, do you remember? Yeah, there you go. He was a lawyer, and he was not a journalist by training, and he was one of the best and finest.
He was a journalist.
Well,
and
was
a
he?
lawyer.
Worked with my husband.
I work with him at the ABC.
Oh, did you really? Oh, he's. You know what? Yeah, that's very nice.
No, well, I don't disagree with what you're saying. I mean, journalism, as it was known, has taken a terrible battering because of online media giving access to anyone with an opinion about anything, and no media controls, no real discipline in terms of what they're reporting, whether they're checking the facts and so on. So.
From where I sit, the only way that, because the newsrooms. See you, mate. Thanks for the chat earlier.
Come on, man. Hit me up.
See you, mate.
See you, brother.
Hit me up.
He's been at different protests.
Is he also the pro-Russian protester?
So this is a hybrid between pro-vaccine, anti-globalist and pro-Russia. About 2/3 of the people who are here...
That's an interesting mix.
Anti-vax.
Why?
Anti-mandate.
Why?
Was that a why or a wow?
Why?
Or why are they anti-mandate?
Why do they say they're anti-vaccine for a start?
Oh, start with the anti-mandate, which is the largest crowd that go to them. They don't want mandates. If you go to the next level down of why they're here, I'm still working that out.
So the anti-vaxxers are anti-mandates. Is that what you're telling me?
Yes, they're being forced into having a vaccination.
There are people who go to the we'll just call them anti-vax rallies, who are anti-vax against vaccines, but mainly the largest group are anti-mandators, who don't want mandates.
Well, that's very difficult to separate, I would have said. In other words, the vaccine does seem to offer some protection against COVID and the worst effects of COVID. I think that's fairly proven by some.
Yeah, but you're meant to be talking to these people about it, not...
No, I'm just talking about...
Oh, I'm fine. We have imperfect conversations here. It's great. We're having imperfect conversation in front of a few hundred people, which is great. Which is perfect. But, yeah, the anti-vaxxers believe far more, get into the science and the details, and the anti-mandators are saying the COVID vaccine should not be mandated. It's that simple.
No, I understand that, but I think that's irresponsible. It's anti-science, and in a word, it's stupid, from my point of view.
So just as I say, normally when I speak to people that at anti-vaccine rallies, calling anyone stupid is not a convincing...
No, I said the idea is stupid. I didn't call anyone stupid.
Oh, of course, but just as people who are pro-mandate, I just had a conversation here with someone who is anti-mandate, and it's like, calling someone naive isn't helpful. He said, people just are naive and shit. That's not, doesn't go anywhere. There's something beyond that.
Which is?
There must be more complexity than simply saying something stupid.
Well, no. Why do a minority think they have the rights to what the majority is prepared to take a vaccine for? Why should they be allowed to intermix with this then? If they don't, if their idea is they're happy to get the COVID or whatever it is they're protesting down in the way of the vaccine, why should they be allowed to mix amongst people who have taken that protection?
At a teachers' protest, I challenged them on were they willing to, because you know how teachers have big rallies for pay increases.
I'm with them, by the way.
At that, there were also teachers who don't want to get vaccines, and I asked them, because the teachers are saying we're unemployed, but next to them are a bunch of unemployed teachers, and they're saying we'll work. And I said, are you willing to get a test every day before work? And they said yes. Are you willing to work from home? Yes. Are you willing to do admin work in different places? And they said yes. So that's where the anti-mandate is coming. They're willing to do all of those things. They've got a test every day at 6 a.m, 2 hours before work. They work from home if they need to. They work outside if they need to. They'll do anything to get on with their job. They just won't take the vaccine.
Isn't the real question, why are they prepared and why do they think they have the right to put other people at risk because they are opposed to taking something which demonstrably can improve their health and improve their protection against a pandemic virus?
That's more the anti-vax science question, right? And that's the topic of the science.
I think it's hard to divide it. That's what I'm trying to say.
I tend not to get into efficacy percentages and peer-reviewed studies on that because it's more the human connection of...
Do you have any children?
Yes, I do actually.
Okay, so are you happy for your children to go into a classroom full of other children who aren't vaccinated or protected in any way, and by extension, teachers who aren't vaccinated? Or
Most of these rallies are filled with kids, surprisingly so. But more interesting, can I come back to why we're here today? Because that's probably the interesting one. Is you thought this was a pro-Ukraine rally, but it's a pro-Russia rally.
Well, it's partly pro-Ukraine. Now we're here.
Well, it's a mix. It's a mix.
And last week we had the friends that came, and they certainly were pro-Ukraine.
I'm guessing you live close by.
Yeah, we did.
Yes, and you heard the noise and you came by.
No. We had intended to come.
Oh, was it advertised as a pro-Ukraine?
No, we had messages from people telling us it was on.
There you go. Oh, that's wonderful. Sometimes that's how things go. There was a rumour. I've been to another pro-Ukraine one here, which I've streamed as well, and I've been to a pro-Russia one.
And where was the pro-Ukraine one?
Right here. I don't think it's the same one you are. But, this is, as you can kind of tell.
So what are these pro-Russians telling you?
That's what I was getting into around the vaccines, because you saw a gentleman here who I'd seen before, and I said hello. The Russians, there's a few different issues. First of all, NATO expansion. Second, the Nazi elements within the Ukrainian army. But then again, we saw with vaccine rallies, the Nazi term gets thrown around everywhere these days.
It does, yes.
Everyone's a Nazi. I'm sure I'm a Nazi.
I don't think so. I think it's quite right that some of the Ukrainians fought with the Germans during the Second World War.
They mean today.
To escape the yoke of Russian control. That's what
they mean today. And
I wonder how the neighbours feel about this.
Protests. They're loud.
Anti-noise.
Yeah. It is Willara. It is Willara. And a large part of this movement is...
That's why it should be leafy and quiet.
But a lot of the people who come here are anti-Willara, the entire principal, establishment, elite. If that makes sense? Anti-Mayfair, anti-Fifth Avenue, that kind of thing.
Unhappy people, are they?
This is a rule that goes back 100 years. Establishment, anti-establishment.
Yeah.
It's not a new... Well, this goes back 10,000 years, really. But
possibly more, yeah.
One Rasmussen report last week in the US. Rasmussen is a polling company like our news poll. In support for involvement in the war, in the $200,000 earners and over, about 68% supported the war in the US, were supported in being involved militarily in the Russia-Ukraine conflict. Under 30,000?
Sorry, are you saying, did I understand what you said correctly? You're saying that they support the possible involvement of the US in the war?
Yes. So high-income earners, two-thirds of them support direct military involvement. Low-income earners, less than 30,000.
Anti-Russian sentiment. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I guess you could say they support involvement on behalf of Ukraine in the conflict.
Yeah, well, that's anti-Russian.
Yeah, that would be anti-Russian.
Not pro-Russian, is it?
Yeah, I guess you'd call it anti-Russian.
I would.
Yeah. But low-income earners below 30,000, 32% supported it. So it was there's lots of ways to skin the cat. What do you think of that divide?
I think nothing of it at all. It doesn't surprise me in the least. There's some terribly right-wing people in the United States, as we know.
You can do anything in any way you want, can't you?
Yeah. That shouldn't surprise you, does it?
Normally, opinion polls are a little more, you end up with your 50s, 40s, 50s, either way, but it was a big kind of, call it an educated or income split between the two.
Well, you had enough support to...
doing a survey around Willara when the elections are on. Do you reckon that one's not skewed?
I have no doubt. I have no doubt. Do you have another independent candidate coming up?
We're supporting her.
Who is your independent?
Yeah, who is she?
I may have seen a sign or something about it.
She's one of the independent women who offer an opportunity to break the hold of the major political parties. Nice.
Her family, of course, is 3 generations liberal.
So she's broken away from the Liberal Party to be an independent.
Why?
Because she wants a more inclusive society. She wants a federal ICAC. She wants action against climate.
Climate change.
Yeah, I'd go too.
Can we speak a...
You're not allowed to show any of my face, by the way.
Pardon me?
You're not allowed to show any of my face.
Oh, why?
Because I haven't authorised it.
Oh, I don't think that's how that works.
Yes,
but
it
that's
is.
okay.
Let me tell you. Unless you tell somebody you're doing it prior to starting, you may not do it.
My name's Chris. You were live streaming on Chris Discoveries, and drop me a line.
No, not drop you a line. You really ought to tell people what you're doing before you start. It's not open. It's not transparent.
Thank you both. Bye-bye. I always do like people who say that. I love people who say you can't live stream. When I said, hello, can I ask you on camera if... Anyway, I always love that. I love that.
Chris was asking before.
Yeah.
He was asking before why we're here. And I want you to say, because you want
We're here because there are a lot of good people in Ukraine in distress that need help from Russia, from the from the own Ukrainian government that have started to go rogue on their own citizens
Yeah,
in Ukraine.
well, they have they not? Of course they have. The Ukraine government, well, the deep state are killing their own people.
There's a lot of people in Ukraine who just don't want any war at all.
Of course, well, that's like us. We don't want war. Nobody wants war.
And that's what, at least something I'm finding, is that in all of the media coverage that we're losing in, is there a way to get out of this conflict? Like, we can't try and find that.
Oh, there
at
is
least that's the position
oh, no,
I'm in.
it's going to take time. It's taking a little bit more time than what we, we can get out of this conflict, yes. It's going to take time, and it's going to take a lot of deaths, people dying. We know that. Even like with the vaccination. Did you Shane Warne and the two cricketers that died today?
I don't know.
You don't know?
I don't know.
Shane Warne died.
Shane Warne died, yes.
Yes.
I heard about that.
There's two cricketers. And then the other guy, he's an older guy, 74.
Rod Marsh.
That's it. They died within 14 hours of each other. Come on, man.
It was unusual, but coincidence to happen.
Yeah, they do, but they'll both vaccinated, so you're going to find more and more coincidences. I'll guarantee that. That's not the first one. There's going to be lots.
Have you had a sausage?
I did, but my son took it off.
There are some more sausages there.
How much? You go have one.
Can't, they're not gluten free.
I
I bet they are, but
I'll ask.
it's okay.
They might say that you didn't say that.
No, it's okay. I'm just going to direct a camera because that last interview that I was having with that couple there was somewhat remarkable. The couple that I was speaking with there, they lived close by and they believed that this was a pro-Ukraine rally. Mid-Atlantic, you could call it British accent, and classic, fairly wealthy establishment.
How is it that? That's what she thought. That's what they thought.
Yes, that's
But
what she
it's
thought. But she didn't realise where the couple were at. And we're having a perfectly polite conversation that rapidly went downhill as I challenged them with two different views, and they felt that they were in a more, shall we say, confident position to tell me what was going on with it.
It's like a war of misinformation, I think.
I guess what I'm trying to when I come to this rally and when I'm going to go to pro-Ukraine rallies, I'm just trying to navigate, is there a way to try and get out of a conflict? Because at the moment, we're in a conflict.
Are you talking about the whole world globally, or are you talking about just what's happening?
Both.
Yeah, we're big.
And I think we're not exploring how to get out of this conflict and discuss it. But
So how do we do that? How can we do that?
I think by the time that you're using guns, then your communication method is guns. And then there's not much else.
We don't want to do that. That's not what Sam was saying.
No, I mean, in Russia, Ukraine at the moment, guns are being used.
They are being used.
And there's limited dialogue that you can have with that. You've got to use words before you get to guns. And that's what I'm trying to get us to
Maybe they
discuss.
tried that. Maybe they tried that over there. We don't know. We're not over there, so how?
There's more there's always more that can be done with diplomacy. Anytime that there's shots fired in anger, you could have always talked things out more. But that's just how things go. Wars are complicated sometimes.
You know what war is? Organised murder.
Yeah, it is. Thanks for the chat. Thank you. No Ukrainians here, guys. Yeah, that was an interesting one, speaking with the